Li Mei's Sword of Destiny. Chapter 1100. In the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, other than the years of chaos, this ancient and powerful royal capital was firmly controlled by the royal clan. No one dared to act recklessly in the royal capital. Everyone in the royal capital was under the protection of the empire. This was just like the Southern Phoenix Immortal City. If a city wanted to flourish, it had to have its own rules, giving its citizens a sense of security. Only then would the city be able to attract powerful experts, allowing them to settle their families in the city. At the same time, it would also be able to increase the number of transactions in the city, causing it to flourish even more. This was a virtuous cycle. Right now, in the royal palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, there were already experts from all directions rushing in. A huge storm was brewing, as though a storm was brewing. These experts included many major powers from the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms, including Immortal Emperor-ranked powers. They naturally came because of the Skymist Immortal Empire's visit to the Evergreen Immortal Empire. They wanted to see how the Skymist Immortal Empire would progress after presenting the letter to the Evergreen Immortal Empire. Everyone was very clear what sort of character the Evergreen Immortal Emperor was. He would definitely not compromise so easily. In that case, would the Skymist Immortal Empire give up so easily? At this moment, in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, a group of figures could be seen strolling about. This group of people exuded an extraordinary aura. Just by casually standing there, they gave off a feeling of reverence, causing the passers-by to cast sidelong glances at this group of people. Those people should be immortal kings. I can't see their depths. Are they a power of our royal capital or an external power? A passerby asked curiously. They should be an external power. During these few days, there have been many major powers visiting the royal capital. It's rumored that some immortal emperor-ranked powers have also arrived, causing quite a commotion. A few days ago, a battle occurred in the royal capital. The cause seems to be the Celestial Palace. The Celestial Palace is similarly located in the vicinity of our Evergreen Kingdom, and is an immortal emperor-ranked power. The Palace Lord of the Celestial Palace is extremely powerful. It's rumored that his strength is unfathomable. That's only natural. If the Celestial Palace was weak, it would have long ceased to exist due to its location between Ziti and the Evergreen Kingdom. The people from the Supreme Sword School have also arrived. That group of sword cultivators all exuded a paragon's sharpness. It's rumored that they can kill with a single glance. Qin Wentian listened attentively. Many people were discussing about the major powers of the eastern regions. The eastern regions were different from the southern regions. In the southern regions, there were 3 extremely ancient clans, and no other powers could stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Hence, many powers established by immortal emperors had no way to expand their influence. In the eastern region, the power balance was more balanced. There were more immortal emperor-ranked powers. Once, the eastern Sage 13 prefectures were governed by the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor, while on the other side was the Beast God sect of the Great Snow Mountain. The Evergreen Kingdom was located in the central region of the eastern region, and was surrounded by many major powers. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures, the Celestial Palace, the Supreme Sword School and others were all located in the surrounding regions. Naturally, there were also some powerful characters who didn't govern vast regions, but their influence was still extremely great. An example was Ziti and GD. Strictly speaking, Ziti could be considered to be located in the central region of the Immortal Realms. Other than this, there was also a powerful ancient dynasty like the Taihua Immortal Dynasty, as well as many reclusive powers in the eastern regions. Qin Wentian also researched the major powers of the eastern regions, and felt extremely shocked in his heart. The Immortal Realms were simply too vast. Just in the eastern region alone, there were already so many terrifying powers. There were also many immortal emperor-ranked powers that had yet to establish a major power. These were merely at the immortal emperor level. As for immortal king-level powers, there were simply too many of them to count. Seniors, let's find an inn to stay in first. Qin Wentian spoke. This group of people was none other than the immortal Qianbian Gate as well as Qin Wentian's group. Among them, there were several immortal kings that accompanied Qin Wentian here. Since they wanted to pay a visit to the Evergreen Kingdom, their group naturally couldn't be too weak. You have the final say in this. Someone at the side spoke in a low voice, allowing Qin Wentian to make the decision. Okay, Junior won't be polite then. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. He first found an inn to stay in. There were restaurants and honest people mixed in here, and it was easy to hear news from all directions. And as expected, after Qin Wentian sat here for a period of time, he heard someone sighing about the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. After the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom sent their letter, there hasn't been any movement from them. They didn't even enter the Evergreen Kingdom's Imperial Palace. I have no idea what they mean by this. But now the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom finally made a move. However, they didn't enter the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Instead, they invited their friends from all over to have a gathering. This gathering was initiated by a prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, saying that it was a gathering of heroes from all over the world. I have no idea what they are thinking. I think the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom is intentionally creating a storm, afraid that everyone in the world wouldn't know about the agreement between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom. Someone laughed. This time around, the person who issued the invitation is Tenlon Hai, a prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. However, it's rumored that this person is a silk pants and is over 300 years old, yet his cultivation base is only at the 3rd level of Immortal Foundation. Although his talent is outstanding, to the princes of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, it can only be considered barely enough. It's rumored that he likes beauties and is a pompous person, far inferior compared to the other princes. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wanted the Evergreen Kingdom to fulfill the agreement, because they wanted their princess to marry this silk pants prince. If this is the case, there's no doubt that they are intentionally humiliating the princesses of the Evergreen Kingdom. Is everyone interested in going over to take a look? Someone asked. Where is the time and location? Many people were interested to join in the fun. Although they weren't qualified to be invited, it wasn't a problem for them to watch from afar. 2 days later, the location is set to be at the Juxian Inn. That person replied. Many people clasped their hands in greeting. Qin Wentian silently drank a cup of wine before he stood up and departed. The prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Tenlon Hai. 2 days later, at the rooftop of the Juxian Inn, there were many pavilions. The terrain here was very high, and the view was extremely good. There were many people seated in the pavilions, admiring the beauties dancing on the stage. The dancers were all clad in thin robes, revealing their jade-white skin. Their faces were veiled and their figures were voluptuous, with slender waists. When they danced, they gave off a feeling of softness and softness. That sexy dance caused the hearts of the spectators to be filled with joy, even causing their blood to boil. Beauty's fine wine, how joyous! Sitting in the upper pavilion was a young man with a fair complexion and a somewhat luxurious temperament. As he drank, his eyes wandered over the dancing beauties on the stage in front of him. Occasionally, lightning flashed in his eyes, revealing a strange luster. Your Highness Hai truly knows how to enjoy life. Someone laughed. In Tenlon Hai's eyes, there were only beauties. Immortals live for a lifetime. How long would it be? Wouldn't it be a pity if he didn't enjoy the beauty of the mortal world? Although they are beautiful, their charm is too strong. I'm afraid they have been toyed with by many before. In another pavilion, several young men could be seen. Their auras were extremely sharp, and there were no impurities in their eyes. When they stared at the beauties, their gazes were filled with disdain, as though they didn't even spare a glance at these beauties. Haha, the sword arts of the Supreme Sword School are so sharp. Their words are so sharp as well. What kind of beauties can they be considered as beauties in your eyes? Tenlon Hai asked. Pure beauty, flawless and flawless. Someone replied. I'm afraid that this kind of woman is extremely rare, said Sky Mist Hai. Is this true? Isn't the reason why the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom came here? Another person spoke. That person was clad in luxurious robes, and was clearly someone from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty. It was none other than an expert from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty, a major power in the eastern regions. Sky Mist Hai's eyes flickered as a faint light flickered in them. He swept his gaze over the people sitting in the pavilions. These young men sitting in the pavilions of the Juxian Tower were all people with status and extraordinary auras. Although Sky Mist Hai didn't say it out loud, ordinary people wouldn't dare to casually sit in these pavilions. Qin Wentian was also sitting in a pavilion. Beside him, there were two other young men sitting there quietly. They were people from the Battle Saint tribe. This time around Junmengchen didn't come. He was in closed-door seclusion, preparing to break through to the second level of Immortal Foundation. Little Rascal and Purgatory also accompanied Qingcheng in her cultivation. It's rumored that Princess Qinger and Princess Liuli of the Evergreen Kingdom are both as pure as ice and as pure as jade. They can be considered as flawless beauties? Tenlon Hai asked. I've heard of it before, but I've never seen it for myself. Someone laughed. Your Highness Hai, could it be? This time around my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom came to the Evergreen Kingdom. I'm sure everyone has heard about it. Back then, the Evergreen Kingdom promised that within 1,000 years, they would marry their most outstanding princess into the royal clan of my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Our Tenlon Heaven Kingdom naturally wouldn't forget this. This time around, we intentionally came here to propose marriage to the Evergreen Kingdom. I believe that as an immortal emperor character, Senior Chongqing the Great would naturally agree to it. Tenlon Hai smiled. What do you all think? I have no idea. The experts from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty laughed. For such a matter, they naturally wouldn't express their stance so easily. Could it be that this marriage proposal is for your highness? A voice drifted over. Tenlon Hai laughed as he pointed to the beautiful maidens dancing in front of him. If I can make Princess Qinger or Princess Liuli dance in front of me, how happy would that be? When everyone saw that Tenlon Hai was in such high spirits, their expressions all froze as they rubbed their wine cups in silence. These words were extremely disrespectful to the two princesses. Wanting Princess Qinger and Princess Liuli to dance in front of him? This Tenlon Hai truly dared to dream. Or could it be that the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was determined to do this? Puchi! An untimely laughter suddenly rang out. The gazes of everyone in the pavilion turned over, staring at a pavilion in the corner. There were 3 young men there, and the one in the middle had the weakest cultivation base. The laughter originated from him. He lowered his head and stared at the table, his slender fingers toying with the wine cup in his hand. His gaze was filled with coldness. What are you laughing at? Tenlon Hai's eyes gleamed with ruthlessness. He inclined his head and stared in the direction of Qin Wentian, similarly toying with his wine cup. Chapter 1101. Qin Wentian placed his wine cup down, causing a light sound to ring out. He slowly inclined his head, staring at Sky Mist Hai as a faint smile could be seen on his face. However, at this moment, his lips were as sharp as swords, and his smile contained a sharpness akin to swords. I heard that His Highness Tenlon Hai only reached the 3rd level of Immortal Foundation after a few hundred years. Given his talent, do you think he can win against Princess Qinger and Princess Liuli? Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice. His voice was filled with mockery. Tenlon Hai was only at the 3rd level of Immortal Foundation at the age of several hundred years. He believed that it wouldn't be long before Princess Qinger's cultivation base would catch up to his. From a certain perspective, it was true that he wasn't worthy of Princess Qinger and Princess Liuli. As for asking Princess Qinger and Princess Liuli to dance for him, that was simply a joke. With regards to this point, many people here understood. However, this was a method used by the Sky Mist Immortal Empire to humiliate the Evergreen Immortal Empire. There was naturally no question of whether the Sky Mist Immortal Empire was worthy or not. In addition, if the Evergreen Immortal Empire really compromised and sent their princess to the Sky Mist Immortal Empire, it was only natural that they would be humiliated. Sky Mist Hai's words weren't an exaggeration. Hence, although Tenlon Hai's words sounded arrogant and disrespectful to the two princesses in public, it also allowed everyone to feel the attitude of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Today, they invited the young men of the various major powers here to announce this to the world. No one would stand out to criticize Sky Mist Hai. However, at this moment, there seemed to be someone who spoke out in an untimely manner. This sentence was undoubtedly a slap to Sky Mist Hai's face, mocking him for his poor talent and saying that he was not worthy of the two princesses. Who are you? Tenlon Hai wasn't angered immediately. He stared at Qin Wentian as he coldly asked, "Who I am doesn't seem to be important." Qin Wentian replied, "Indeed, it isn't important." Tenlon Hai smiled. In the immortal realms there are countless people dying and disappearing every day. In fact, they wouldn't even know how they died. To the vast immortal realms, their existence is meaningless. No one would even know of their disappearance, and no one would pay attention to them. There's some logic in your words. Let alone ordinary people, even if a prince of an immortal empire died one day, there wouldn't be any ripples in the immortal realms. This is especially so for those ordinary princes. Their disappearance wouldn't even attract the attention of their respective immortal empires, because they were insignificant existences. Qin Wentian smiled as he drank his wine, as though he was mumbling to himself. The words of the two of them were filled with hidden meanings, as though they were competing with each other. The others quietly watched. The people here all had extraordinary statuses. Even the weakest among them was a member of the younger generation from an immortal king power. All of them stared at Qin Wentian with interest. This man dared to directly clash with Tenlon Hai. Although it was just a verbal exchange, it was clear that he wasn't an ordinary character. Also, since he wanted to protect the Evergreen Heaven Kingdom, he most probably had some connections in the Evergreen Heaven Kingdom. Tenlon Hai also thought of this point. He stared at Qin Wentian and smiled. If Princess Qing'er and Princess Liuli were to marry into my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and become my wives and concubines, how difficult would it be for them to dance before me? Even if I become a cripple, they would still have to serve their husbands well, right? That's your wishful thinking. Qin Wentian laughed mockingly. You don't even know your own capabilities. The agreement between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Heaven Kingdom has nothing to do with my capabilities. Tenlon Hai's gaze grew colder and colder. Qin Wentian's words were full of sarcasm, and it was extremely piercing to his ears. Agreement? Qin Wentian mocked disdainfully. The agreement between the previous dynasty's traders and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. You want the Chongqing the Great to fulfill it? Is it that if you, Tenlon Hai, make an agreement with others one day, you want the entire Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to fulfill it? This is an agreement between the two great celestial kingdoms. Moreover, the Evergreen Kingdom has fulfilled this agreement before. Now, there are princesses of the Evergreen Kingdom as concubines in my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Now that the Chongqing the Great is in charge of the Evergreen Kingdom, how could he break the agreement? Tenlon Hai said coldly. And you have a sharp tongue. I, Tenlon Hai, am a member of the royal family of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. When I come to the imperial city of the Evergreen Kingdom, I am also a guest of the Celestial Kingdom. You disrespect me and insult a member of the royal family of a friendly kingdom. Even if I kill you, the Evergreen Kingdom will not say a word. You? Qin Wentian looked at Tenlon Hai and smiled. If you can kill me, I will accept it. Looking at Qin Wentian's undisguised disdainful smile, Tenlon Hai's expression became sharper and sharper. With a wave of his hand, the sexy women dancing on the stage left one after another. Clearly, Tenlon Hai had lost the mood to appreciate the dance. You are really boasting shamelessly, Tenlon Hai said calmly. He looked around at the crowd and said, among the heroes here, there are many who are stronger than you. Only you are arrogant and ignorant. I wonder if there are any friends who are willing to teach this person a lesson on my behalf? I'm not interested in the children of ordinary nobles. The voice of the young man from the Supreme Sword School was as sharp as ever. Evidently, many people here treated Qin Wentian as a nobility disciple of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. This was why they dared to go against Tenlon Hai here, protecting Princess Qing'er and Princess Liuli. The people from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty and Celestial Palace didn't say anything. They didn't seem to be interested at all. They only came here to watch the show. If it was just a simple spar, they might be interested. But being dragged into the conflict between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom wasn't something they wanted. Qin Wentian quietly stood there. At this moment, a figure stood up from the pavilion he was in. This person had an extraordinary cultivation base and his aura surged. He was a peak-level Immortal Foundation expert with tyrannical strength. He was an expert from the Solar Sky Mountain in the Sky Mist Immortal Empire, and the Solar Sky Mountain was an extremely powerful power. Let me advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Qin Wentian brought his wine cup to his lips. He didn't even glance at the person who stood up as he coldly spoke. The eyes of that expert from the Solar Sky Mountain froze. After a moment of hesitation, he stepped out, moving towards Qin Wentian's direction as a fearsome aura gushed forth from him. In just an instant, a blazing heat gushed towards Qin Wentian, causing the entire space to be engulfed in flames, as though it was on the verge of burning. Qin Wentian spoke. A moment later, the young man from the Battle Saint tribe beside him placed his wine cup down and stood up, walking forward. His entire body gleamed with a bright light as he retracted his aura. The powerful immortal might he exuded didn't affect his surroundings at all. The two of them walked towards each other step by step. Finally, they faced each other in the middle. In an instant, a terrifying bolt of lightning and fire enveloped the two of them. This circular light screen was filled with endless destructive power. It swept towards Qida, who was inside the light screen. The lightning-like flame struck Qida's body, but they seemed to be blocked by the dazzling pattern on the outside. The gazes of everyone turned to the center. The auras of the two of them were completely retracted into the light screen. As long as the slightest bit of that stifling pressure was released, the entire Juxian Tower would be reduced to smithereens. Boom! A bolt of lightning flashed as the two of them disappeared at the same time along with the circular light screen, appearing high up in the sky. Many people raised their heads and stared at the sky, only to see a blinding light. The light of destruction finally unleashed an explosive power, causing the sky to seem like it was about to explode. A beam of light of annihilation rained down from the sky. Qin Wentian's eyes didn't look at the battle in the air. There was basically no need to look, and he already knew the ending. And as expected, an instant later, a scream of misery rang out. The immortal foundation of that expert from the Solar Sky Mountain was destroyed as he fell from the air. The experts from the Solar Sky Mountain all stood up as their auras gushed forth. Qida descended from the air, standing behind Qin Wentian as though nothing had happened. At the end of the battle, Qin Wentian poured the wine in his cup into his mouth as he spoke. I've said it before, don't meddle in other people's business. The experts from the Solar Sky Mountain all stepped out. Qida's silhouette flickered as he appeared in front of Qin Wentian, blocking his path. A fearsome might gushed forth from him like a tempest, as thunderous rumbling sounds could be heard in the air. The platform beneath his feet crumbled apart as the pavilions in the surroundings crumbled apart. Busy. A tyrannical aura gushed over. This was the aura of an immortal king. In an instant, an immortal king from the Solar Sky Mountain appeared. The instant he appeared, his might enveloped Qin Wentian and Qida. But at the same time, a booming voice rang out. Who dares to be so insolent in the royal capital of my evergreen kingdom? As the sound of his voice faded, a group of immortal kings appeared in the air, staring straight at the immortal king from the Solar Sky Mountain. You guys are the ones causing trouble? Did you all not see that earlier? He crippled the immortal foundation of one of my sect members? The immortal king from the Solar Sky Mountain pointed at the immortal king who was crippled. A peak-level immortal foundation expert. Although he wasn't a core disciple, he was still extraordinary. Yet he was crippled just like that. Indeed, I didn't see it. The reply from the immortal king from the Evergreen Kingdom infuriated the immortal king. Clearly he was lying. Most probably everything that happened here was seen by them. Who were the enemies of the Evergreen Kingdom, who were friends, who were neutral, all of them could be seen clearly by them. Could it be that because they are from the Evergreen Kingdom, all of you are intentionally shielding them? The immortal king from the Solar Sky Mountain spoke. That immortal king from the Evergreen Kingdom stared at Qin Wentian as he asked, Are they from the Evergreen Kingdom? Why don't I know anything about them? That's just what some people think they are. Qin Wentian laughed, his words causing the eyes of everyone to flicker as they stared at Qin Wentian. If he wasn't from the Evergreen Kingdom, he still dared to be so arrogant? Because of the Evergreen Princess and Princess Lioli, he directly stood in opposition to a prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom? Among the major powers of the eastern regions, there weren't many who could stand against the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. If Qin Wentian wasn't from the Evergreen Kingdom, he definitely wasn't one of those who could stand against the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. In that case, the guts of this man was truly great. A cold smile flickered in the eyes of Tenlon Hai. Chapter 1102. Tenlon Hai rapped his knuckles on the table. He stared at Qin Wentian as a sinister smile appeared on his face. I'm not someone from the Evergreen Kingdom. Tenlon Hai stared at the calm look in Qin Wentian's eyes as he smiled. In that case, do you love Princess Qing or Princess Liuli? It's understandable if you are impulsive for the sake of the person you love. But right now this isn't a good thing. At this moment a few figures suddenly appeared beside Sky Mist High, exuding terrifying auras. Not only for Sky Mist High's side, there were also experts appearing beside the other geniuses from the various powers. These were all immortal kings, but after they appeared, they merely stood there calmly, as though they were here to watch the show. My Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom are in-laws. Now that I'm here to propose marriage to the princess of the Evergreen Kingdom, I can also be considered an honored guest of the Evergreen Kingdom. Right now, Tenlon High was insulted by an outsider. I believe that all of you wouldn't mind if I kill him, right? Tenlon High tapped his fingers on the table as he stared at the experts from the Evergreen Kingdom. His calm voice contained an unmasked killing intent. Naturally not. A melodious voice drifted over. From afar, a group of silhouettes could be seen riding on greater demons. In fact, there was even an extremely beautiful young lady riding on an azure luan. This young lady exuded an extraordinary aura of nobility and elegance. Her eyes shone with a brilliant light, and beside her, there were many experts protecting her. There was also a beautiful middle-aged woman walking beside her, exuding a similarly noble aura. Qin Wentian turned his head and stared at these people. There were many familiar faces among them. Princess Liuli was someone he met before at the Dongshangshan Gate. Beside Princess Liuli was actually Qing Er's aunt Princess Chongping. Princess Chongping and her husband were both here. Beside her was her husband, the Scarlet Eye Marquis. Tenlon Hai's gaze instantly landed on Princess Liuli. His gaze roamed over her graceful figure, and a hint of lust could be seen within. We pay our respects to Princess Chongping, Princess Liuli and the Scarlet Eye Marquis. The soldiers of the Evergreen Immortal Empire bowed, their actions causing the eyes of everyone to flash as they stared at the newcomer. So it turned out that this beautiful young woman was none other than Princess Glaze. Truly a phoenix among humans. Princess Liuli. Tenlon Hai smiled. This was also the first time he met Princess Liuli. He was very satisfied. If he could marry her and make her his concubine, it would truly be a wonderful thing in the world to make a noble lady like Princess Liuli dance for him. Tenlon Heaven Kingdom's Tenlon Hai pays his respects to the two princesses. Tenlon Hai spoke, yet he still sat there unmoving. The royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom forbids killing. Princess Chongping stared at Tenlon Hai as she emotionlessly spoke. But he crippled the immortal foundation of an expert earlier? Tenlon Hai pointed to Qida, who was beside Qin Wentian. Did he? Princess Chongping stared at Qin Wentian as she asked. He was the one who provoked me first, wanting to kill me. The law enforcers of the Evergreen Kingdom have yet to arrive, so Junior could only protect himself. My attacks were a little too heavy. I hope Princess can understand. Qin Wentian clasped his hands to Princess Chongping. The two of them were already acquainted with each other, and naturally had a tacit understanding of each other. So this is the case. In that case, you guys were the one who violated the rules of the royal capital first, and he had no choice but to retaliate? Princess Chongping coldly stared at the experts of the Solar Sky Mountain, clearly wanting to protect Qin Wentian. What logic is this? My subordinate had his immortal foundation crippled, yet he was the one in the wrong. The experts of the Solar Sky Mountain were unconvinced. Since you also feel that your logic is logical, why don't both of you follow me to the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom? I will investigate this matter in detail. How about it? The Scarlet Eye Marquis took a step forward, staring at the experts of the Solar Sky Mountain. His eyes gleamed with a scarlet light, causing people to feel fear in their hearts. The experts of the Solar Sky Mountain weren't so foolish as to believe the words of the Evergreen Kingdom. Humph, that expert snorted coldly, feeling extremely unhappy. In that case, we should just forget about him humiliating me like this? Tenlon Hai continued. Although he had the reputation of being a silk pants, he wasn't a good person. How could he let this matter rest so easily? What do you want? The Scarlet Eye Marquis stared at Tenlon Hai as he spoke. It's not that our Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wants to do anything. No matter what, we are guests here. If your Evergreen Kingdom doesn't have a way to deal with this, Our Tenlon Heaven Kingdom can only use our own methods to deal with this. An immortal king behind Tenlon High spoke in an extremely domineering manner. What method does your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom have? The Scarlet Eye Marquis coldly asked. Kill. The other party spat out a single word, not polite at all. Haha, what arrogant words. A hearty laughter rang out, causing the entire space to tremble. After that, a few more experts flew over, directly appearing behind Qin Wentian as they stared ahead. How will you kill him? That person coldly spoke. From afar, countless experts in the surroundings stared in the direction of the Juxian Tower, as waves of emotions rose in their hearts. How interesting, more and more experts appeared. This young man who dared to stand against Tenlon High seemed to be an extraordinary character as well. Although he wasn't someone from the Evergreen Kingdom, he still dared to challenge the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Who are you exactly? Tenlon High stared at Qin Wentian. Being able to have an immortal king as a bodyguard, his identity definitely wouldn't be simple. Even if his status couldn't be compared to the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, he should still have an immortal emperor backing him. A guest of the Evergreen Kingdom. Princess Chongping coldly stared at Tenlon High. Unlike a certain person who says that he is a guest, but actually dares to insult the princess of the Evergreen Kingdom. Such a disrespectful guest. Forgive me for not welcoming you. Does the Evergreen Kingdom want to break their promise? The immortal king behind Tenlon High coldly spoke. The current Evergreen Immortal Emperor has never made any promises to your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, nor did he have any agreements with you guys. Everyone in the world knows this point. How could he break his promise? Princess Chongping spoke. Very good. In that case, we will naturally pay a visit to Chongqing the Great to discuss this matter. That immortal king laughed coldly when he saw the domineering attitude of Princess Chongping. After that, he pointed to Qin Wentian and spoke, but this man, even if he is a guest of the Evergreen Kingdom, he actually dared to humiliate a prince of my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. This debt has to be settled no matter what. That's right. No matter what identity he has, my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom has to pay the price today. The agreement between the Evergreen Kingdom and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom isn't something a brat who's still wet behind the ears can talk about. Is he even worthy? An immortal king at the side also spoke in a domineering manner. Since Princess Chongping didn't want to acknowledge the agreement, they would temporarily not mention this matter. But today they invited the experts of the eastern regions here. How could they allow the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to lose face? Hence, it was imperative to make an example out of Qin Wentian. No matter what identity Qin Wentian had, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom didn't care at all. Since the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom is so domineering, I really want to know if the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom has the qualifications to be domineering. Princess Chongping's expression turned heavy. Since you want him to pay the price, we can do it according to the rules of my Evergreen Kingdom. Since you said that this brat humiliated your prince Tenlon High, then Tenlon High can step out and kill him. My Evergreen Kingdom will definitely not interfere. The expressions of the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom froze. This Princess Chongping was so confident in this young man? Why, you don't dare? Princess Chongping spoke. If the so-called domineering attitude of your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom is to bully others, then I'm sorry. In my Evergreen Kingdom, no one is allowed to do so regardless of who it is. It doesn't matter if I dare or not. It's just that he isn't worthy enough for a prince of my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to act personally. The immortal king from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom coldly spoke. From your words, it seems that the Evergreen Kingdom is going to protect this young man no matter what? It's not that my Evergreen Kingdom has to protect him. It's anyone who dares to enter the royal capital of my Evergreen Kingdom. They have to abide by the rules of my Evergreen Kingdom. The Scarlet Eye Marquis tyrannically spoke. If the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wanted to do whatever they wanted in their royal capital, wouldn't they be the laughingstock of the entire world? Since the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom dared to use the agreement of the past to demand for Qin Wentian, they naturally had to show them how domineering they were. It was impossible for a princess of an immortal empire to marry Tianlan. Since this is the case, fine. Let's follow the rules of the Evergreen Kingdom then. The immortal king behind Tenlon High spoke. He glanced at the surroundings as he continued, this time around, we came to pay a visit to the Evergreen Kingdom but haven't had the chance to personally pay our respects. 3 days later, The men of my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom will head to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to pay our respects. Firstly, we will pay our respects to our in-laws and friends, and secondly, we will allow our juniors to exchange pointers on the martial Dao, improving our relationship. At that time, I would like to invite all the major powers here to come along. How about it? If the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom sincerely wishes to be our guests, the Evergreen Kingdom would welcome all of you. The Scarlet Eye Marquis spoke. Can you make the decision? The Immortal King stared at the Scarlet Eye Marquis as he tyrannically spoke. Since Marquis has spoken, I naturally can make the decision. However, as the host, my Evergreen Kingdom doesn't need your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to invite us. At that time, if the major powers of the Evergreen Kingdom wish to enter our palace, we will welcome all of you. Since Princess Lioli is so straightforward, we shall temporarily forget about this matter today. That Immortal King laughed loudly. He stared at Qin Wentian and the others. According to the rules of the Evergreen Kingdom, as long as both parties are willing, we can still settle some grudges. No matter who you are, I hope that when the time comes, don't hide and refuse to come out. Farewell. Tenlon Hai stood up, glancing at everyone as he smiled. Everyone, let's meet again 3 days later. As he spoke, his gaze turned to Qin Wentian as he pointed his wine cup at Qin Wentian. After that, he slowly tilted the cup downwards, causing the wine in it to drip onto the ground. I hope you can always be so gutsy. Tenlon Hai laughed. After that, he turned and departed. The group of them left in an extremely arrogant manner. The eyes of everyone flickered as they stared at their departing backs. 3 days later, they would enter the Evergreen Kingdom Palace with ill intentions. Farewell. The experts from the various powers clasped their hands and departed. Very swiftly, at the Jushin Inn, Qin Wentian glanced at Princess Chongping and the others as he smiled. Princess Marquis, why? You know that Qing'er has something to do, so you intentionally came to the Evergreen Kingdom? Princess Chongping smiled as she stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly. Do you want to follow me to the royal palace? Princess Chongping asked. No need. 3 days later I will pay my respects there. Qin Wentian spoke. Princess Chongping nodded. Okay. Let's meet again 3 days later. Chapter 1103. The news of the Celestial Gathering Tower quickly spread throughout the Celestial Nation Imperial City. Although there were no violent clashes, both the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom seemed to have hinted at their attitudes. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom sent Prince Tenlon Hai to appear. His words were disrespectful to Princess Qi, and Princess Lioli, hinting at his determination to marry the two princesses back to Sky Mist. The Evergreen Kingdom had no choice but to break the agreement. The Evergreen Kingdom also sent important figures to appear. Chongqing the Great's younger sister, Princess Chongping, and the White Emperor's daughter, Princess Lioli personally appeared. Their responses were just as forceful, hinting that they did not intend to fulfill the agreement that had nothing to do with Chongqing the Great. In reality, the conflict that day did not require the appearance of the two princesses, but since they had appeared, it was clear that they were expressing their attitude. Everyone's gazes began to focus on the palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. There were even some experts who headed towards the direction of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Princess Lioli's voice rang out. All forces in the imperial city of the Evergreen Kingdom were allowed to enter the palace. The doors of the palace were opened wide, welcoming guests. This would be a direct confrontation between the two neighboring countries, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had already proposed a spar, clearly intending to embarrass the Evergreen Kingdom. Although it was tactful, and they had even dragged in the various forces, their goal was clear. They wanted to use this opportunity to suppress the arrogance of the Evergreen Kingdom, and even directly enter the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to fight. 3 days to an immortal empire was simply too short. In the blink of an eye, experts from all directions gathered outside the imperial palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, as they stared at the majestic palace in front of them. This place was the territory governed by the Evergreen Immortal Empire, and there were many kings and marquises residing there. Only those who were famous would be able to enter the imperial palace and stay there. This was a glory, a symbol of one's status and status. The towering gates of the palace gleamed with a resplendent silvery light, as though it was forged from divine weapons. At this moment the gates opened, revealing an ancient pathway paved with immortal jades. If one followed this pathway, they would be able to enter the royal palace. At this moment from afar a group of experts could be seen flying over. This group of experts numbered in the hundreds, and they were all mounted on greater demons. These greater demons exuded a terrifying baleful aura, and the one in the lead was actually an incomparably gigantic white tiger. The baleful aura it exuded was extremely tyrannical, and its gaze was filled with coldness. This was none other than the slaughter god White Tiger. The one sitting on the back of the white tiger was a young man clad in aqua-blue robes. He exuded a heroic bearing, exuding a sense of handsomeness. He had a feathered crown on his head, and his status was extremely lofty. Also, his aura was extremely powerful, indicating that he was an immortal king expert. Beside him, there was a beautiful woman who exuded an aura of nobility. Her beautiful countenance gave off a sense of sharpness, and her eyes were especially cold. Even for Tenlon Hai, he could only sit on the back of a greater demon beside them. Clearly, his status wasn't as high as the blue-robed young man. This young man was also a prince character of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, and was an immortal king prince with extremely outstanding talent. His fame in the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wasn't something a silk pants like Tenlon Hai could compare to. Another gigantic sword whistled through the air. In the air a group of experts rode on flying swords, exuding a sense of sharpness. These people were none other than experts from the Supreme Sword School. The group of experts from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty rode on carriages, exuding an imposing aura. The Taihua Immortal Dynasty was also an extremely tyrannical power that could dominate an area. The experts from the Celestial Palace were all mounted on different types of greater demons, exuding a fearsome aura. Many experts involuntarily opened up a path for them. Some of the ordinary mounts of the experts below were so frightened that they were trembling. More and more greater demons appeared. Ordinary demons couldn't withstand the pressure. Not only did these peak powers arrive, there were also many descendants of emperor-ranked powers. Before this, the people from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom had invited them to spar with each other. It would naturally be beneficial for them to see the strength of the descendants of these peak powers. In addition, they also wanted to see how the conflict between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom would develop. These experts were all intelligent people. No matter if it was Tenlon Hai speaking rudely to the two princesses earlier or their request to spar in the Imperial Palace, all of their actions were filled with the arrogance of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Clearly, they wanted to suppress the Evergreen Kingdom. Hence, when they requested to spar in the Imperial Palace, the two princesses immediately agreed. In truth, they were already accepting the challenge. Qin Wentian and his group also arrived. They stood among the crowd and weren't that conspicuous. However, Tenlon Hai from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom could still easily see them. When he saw that there were many guards around Qin Wentian, although he didn't know Qin Wentian's true identity, he already understood that Qin Wentian had an immortal emperor backing him. But so what of it? You still dare to come? You truly have some guts. Tenlon Hai stared at Qin Wentian from afar. You truly overestimate yourself. Qin Wentian calmly glanced at Tenlon Hai, as though mocking Tenlon Hai for not knowing his own limits. You are still as arrogant as ever. You better pray that you can walk out of this imperial palace alive. Tenlon Hai coldly laughed. After that, he turned his gaze ahead only to see the immortal king beside him speaking. Tenlon Heaven Kingdom's Tenlon Jiang leads the envoy group of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to pay a visit to the Evergreen Kingdom. Disciples of the Supreme Sword School come to pay a visit to the Evergreen Kingdom. More voices rang out. Qin Wentian also spoke. Immortal Champion Gate's Qin Wentian leads the envoy group of the Immortal Champion Gate to pay a visit to the Evergreen Kingdom. As the sound of his voice faded, many gazes turned to Qin Wentian. Only now did many people know his identity. It was actually the Immortal Champion Gate. Right now, the Dongshengshan Gate and the Immortal Champion Gate were fighting in the 13 prefectures. Right now, the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor only had 7 prefectures. But at this moment, the envoy group of the Immortal Champion Gate actually had the time to pay a visit to the Evergreen Kingdom. No wonder they are so arrogant. So it turns out that they are people from the immortal Champion Gate. Tenlon Hai spoke. The coldness in his eyes was as cold as ever. He didn't care that much. With the foundations of the immortal Champion Gate, they couldn't even stand up against the Dongshangshan Gate. How would they be able to stand up against his Tenlon Heaven Kingdom? Seems like the immortal Champion Gate was too complacent. This Qin Wentian didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Invite them in. A voice rang out. Outside the great gates of the royal palace, more and more serving girls appeared, respectfully welcoming the guests. No matter if the Skymist Immortal Empire came with ill intentions or not, they still had to show proper etiquette. They mustn't make it seem like their evergreen immortal empire was lacking in manners. The experts from the various powers landed on the ground and walked towards the royal palace. Along the way, there were people welcoming them, and some of them even increased their pace, circulating their immortal energy to advance. The royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom was incomparably vast. Numerous nobility residences could be seen everywhere. If they walked on foot, it was unknown how long it would take before they could reach the depths of the royal palace. Hence, they could only increase their speed. The experts from the various powers were extremely imposing. Finally, the group of experts arrived at a majestic location. Here, the serving girls had already prepared an immortal banquet. Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis appeared at the host seats of the banquet. When they saw the guests, they bowed and spoke. "Welcome to my Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Are we not going to enter the Emperor Palace? My Evergreen Kingdom wishes to pay a visit to the Immortal Emperor." Tenlon Jiang stared at Princess Chongping as he calmly spoke. No matter what, they were the representatives of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Did the Evergreen Kingdom only intend to let Princess Chongping receive them? The Immortal Emperor is busy with his cultivation and doesn't have much time. Hence, we can only receive all of you in his stead. A prince of my Evergreen Kingdom will also be here personally to receive all of you. Princess Chongping smiled. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was so rude. Even before they entered the royal palace, they were already so rude. And now they even wanted the Immortal Emperor to personally receive them? Wasn't a prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom thinking too highly of themselves? The Evergreen Kingdom would also send a prince to meet them as equals. Wanting to meet the Immortal Emperor? These people weren't even qualified. Is this a show of strength? The experts from the various powers silently mused. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom came to pay a visit to the Chongqing the Great. However, the Chongqing the Great basically didn't intend to meet them, let alone fulfill the agreement. At this moment, another group of figures flew over. Among them, Princess Liuli was among them. Beside Princess Liuli, there was a young man with extraordinary handsomeness. This young man was none other than a prince of the Evergreen Kingdom, the son of the Chongqing the Great, an immortal king expert, Chongqing Long Hao. This is His Highness Long Hao, a prince of my Evergreen Kingdom. Princess Chongping spoke. Aunt. Evergreen Long Hao called out to Princess Chongping as he swept his gaze over the banquet. Today there were actually thousands of people from the various major powers who came here, exuding a majestic aura. All of them were extraordinary characters. "We pay our respects to Your Highness." Many people clasped their hands in greeting. Chongqing Long Hao smiled and nodded. "Everyone is a guest, please be seated. Today, I came to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace not for the banquet. Firstly, it's to pay my respects to the Immortal Emperor. Secondly, it's to exchange pointers. Why is there a need to waste time here?" Tenlon Jiang directly spoke even before he sat down. "It's the same if Your Highness Jiang has something to say to me. I will self-destruct to convey the message to my father. As for the matter of sparring, there's no conflict between sparring and an immortal banquet." Chongqing Long Hao spoke. An expert walked to the center of the immortal banquet. He took a few steps forward, causing a bright light to shine from the ground. Rumbling sounds rang out as a battle platform slowly rose up. This battle platform was extremely large. Only now did everyone discover that the location of the immortal banquet was intentionally arranged. The experts from each side would occupy a location, leaving only the central location empty. The battle platform rose up. Clearly, the Evergreen Immortal Empire already knew how many experts would come, and had already arranged everything. This battle platform is constructed from naturally formed immortal ranked materials. It can withstand the attacks from experts below the Immortal King realm without collapsing. There's also a light screen around the platform that can block the aftershocks of the battle. It won't affect everyone's enjoyment of the immortal banquet. Chongqing Longhao spoke. Seems like if we don't properly enjoy this immortal banquet and exchange pointers, we won't be able to see the immortal emperor. Sky Miss Zhang's voice was filled with coldness, clearly unhappy. The evergreen immortal empire was intentionally trying to humiliate them. Chapter 1104. Chongqing Longhao laughed. He also wanted to see the trump cards of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Without seeing their trump cards, they wanted to meet with his father so easily? Although the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was powerful, a mere prince, Tenlon Jiang, didn't have the face to do so. It would be more appropriate if the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom personally came. His gaze swept through the vast area. There were thousands of people here and there were over 10 different powers. Naturally, the strongest few were undoubtedly the peak powers of the eastern regions. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, the Celestial Palace, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty, and the Immortal Qinbian Gate represented by Qin Wentian. Chongqing Longhao's gaze paused on Qin Wentian for an instant before shifting away, as though he didn't know him. He had never met with Qin Wentian before, but back then when Qin Wentian was in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace, his immortal sense had naturally seen Qin Wentian before. Hence, he was able to recognize Qin Wentian. However, this time around, Qin Wentian was representing the Immortal Qinbian Gate. My Evergreen Kingdom has never hosted such a grand gathering before. This time around, being able to gather together with all of you, allowing the young elites to spar against each other can be considered an interesting matter. I wonder, how does the Prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wish to spar against each other? Chongqing Longhao slowly sat down on his seat, exuding an imposing aura. His words were polite and smooth, not revealing any flaws. Characters like Chongqing Longhao and Tenlon Jiang might appear very young, but in truth, their actual age was very old. Both of them have lived for tens of thousands of years and had seen many storms. Naturally, compared to the other immortal kings, they were still very young. Hence they looked like youths. We can naturally spar as we please. There is no need to be too rigid with the rules. As long as someone is willing to spar, both sides will be willing. Anyone from any faction can spar with us. What do you think? Sky Mist Jiang said calmly. Sure, we will do as Brother Sky Mist says. Chongqing Longhao straightforwardly spoke. After that, he lifted his wine cup. Everyone, I, Chongqing Longhao, would like to propose a toast to all of you. Please. The experts of the various powers still gave face to Chongqing Longhao. All of them lifted their wine cups and drained the contents in a single gulp. After all, Chongqing Longhao is a prince of an immortal empire, the son of Chongqing the Great. Not only that, he was also an immortal king expert, and this place was the royal palace of an empire. At this moment, more and more people arrived. They all walked behind Evergreen Longhao, coming from the various kings and marquises. Since the Sky Mist Immortal Empire wanted to provoke them, they would naturally play along. There were many kings and marquises in the Evergreen Immortal Empire, and there were many outstanding geniuses among them. How could they not come to participate in this banquet? Yufeng, go and fight for the first round. Tenlon Jiang spoke. This time around, there were several hundred experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Regardless of Immortal King or Immortal Foundation, there were quite a few of them. Also, since the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom dared to provoke the Evergreen Kingdom, they must have brought along their elites. Yes, Your Highness. A young man flashed as he walked towards the battle platform in the center. His cultivation base wasn't high, only at the first level of Immortal Foundation. However, he exuded an extraordinary aura. This young man named Yufeng turned his gaze in the direction of Chongqing Longhao as he spoke. I wish to experience the strength of the geniuses of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Please guide me. The first battle is indeed a direct provocation to the Evergreen Kingdom. Everyone mused. In addition, they didn't send out people with high cultivation bases, only first-level Immortal Foundation experts. Your Highness, allow me. Many of the nobility members of the Evergreen Kingdom were filled with eagerness. Chongqing Longhao's gaze roamed over them. He understood that although this was a first-level Immortal Foundation challenge, It was actually much more dangerous. He could still remember back then when Qin Wentian was in the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. He had just broken through to Immortal Foundation. Who among the same level of nobility members of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace could stand shoulder to shoulder with him? Back then, Qin Wentian's Immortal Foundation was simply perfect. He was like a character who had been immersed in Immortal Foundation for many years just after he broke through. His attacks were exceedingly powerful. Hence, from a certain perspective, if one could establish a high-grade Immortal Foundation at the first level of Immortal Foundation, they would possess extraordinary strength and would have a great advantage, far surpassing ordinary first-level Immortal Foundation experts. Hence, don't look down on the fact that Qin Wentian's cultivation base was low. The Evergreen Kingdom Palace was filled with geniuses, but there weren't many first-level Immortal Foundation experts. As long as there was a character like Qin Wentian, Chongqing Long Hao wouldn't need to worry about this battle at all. If Qing'er was here, there might be no problem. But Qing'er was currently at the place where her master GD was cultivating. It was unknown when she would return. You can go then. Finally, Chongqing Long Hao's gaze landed on a young man. This young man was a descendant of the nobility sect and had outstanding talent. He could already be considered one of the more powerful characters among first-level Immortal Foundation experts. He walked up the platform and the two of them faced each other. Yufeng politely clasped his hands to him. Please guide me. Hypocrite. The disciple of the nobility sect from the Evergreen Kingdom cursed in a low voice. His aura gushed forth as a gigantic golden axe appeared in the air. The space around him fluctuated as a tyrannical and sharp aura gushed forth from him, capable of shattering everything. He stepped out as the gigantic axe cleaved down from the sky, transforming into a beam of golden axe light that contained a fearsome might, wanting to cleave Yufeng into two. Yufeng abruptly erupted forth with a fearsome might as the power of his Immortal Foundation gushed forth. Instantly, immortal light circulated around him as a layer of immortal armor appeared around him. Powerful immortal runes could be seen within. This was a sign of his powerful physique. Seeing the tyrannical axe cleaving down, Yufeng stepped out as a circular light screen appeared before him, enveloping him within. This light screen shone with immortal light, and when the gigantic axe collided with it, it felt as though it had collided with an incomparably sturdy metal. There was actually no way for the axe to penetrate through this defensive power. The eyes of everyone flashed. The attacks of this descendant of the nobility sect from the Evergreen Kingdom were already very strong. But that layer of immortal light screen, as well as the might of his Immortal Foundation, clearly indicated that Yufeng had extraordinary abilities. The runes on the circular light screen flowed unceasingly, transforming into numerous floating ancient characters that seemed as though they wanted to rush out. That disciple of the nobility sect roared in rage. The might of his Immortal Foundation gushed forth frenziedly, causing the entire space to change color. The gigantic axe cleaved down frenziedly, causing the sky to darken and the earth to turn dark, resembling a scene of doomsday. However, the runes on Yufeng's light screen transformed into ancient characters that erupted forth. In an instant, tens of thousands of runes shot out at the same time. His opponent released his Immortal Foundation as he slashed out with his axe. The golden light screen was incomparably resplendent, yet those ancient characters directly engulfed the entire space as rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly. At the same time, Yufeng stepped out step by step, moving towards his opponent. A fearsome light screen gushed forth as countless ancient characters blasted out. Finally, the axe light completely shattered. Yufeng coldly snorted, causing his opponent to be flung through the air as he coughed out blood, slamming into the light screen at the edge of the platform. Complete victory. The spectators all had their own thoughts when they saw this scene. The combat prowess of this descendant of the nobility sect from the Evergreen Kingdom could already be considered very strong. The power of his Immortal Foundation axe was boundless, but this Yufeng was even more extraordinary, possessing a unique physique. That terrifying axe actually had no way to break through the ancient characters on his body. Evidently, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom came here prepared. They would definitely win this battle. Yufeng, why are you so heavy-handed? No matter what, we are guests here. Tenlon Zhang emotionlessly spoke. Yufeng clasped his hands to the injured descendant of the nobility sect from the Evergreen Kingdom. It's unavoidable to be injured during sparring. I hope you won't blame me. Humph. That person had an unsightly expression as he walked down the platform. He was defeated in this battle, throwing away the face of the Evergreen Kingdom. Is there anyone else who wishes to spar against Yufeng? Tenlanjiang asked. Nobody replied. Given Yufeng's overwhelming strength, it wouldn't be easy for first-level Immortal Foundation experts to defeat him. And to the Evergreen Kingdom, if they really sent out second-level Immortal Foundation experts, wouldn't they be the laughingstock of the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom? Where are the experts from the Immortal Qinbian Gate? Tenlan Hai turned his gaze over in the direction of Qin Wentian, staring at Qin Wentian, who was seated in the center of the Immortal Qinbian Gate. He coldly spoke, "Before this, you have always been disrespectful to me. Now that there's a chance for us to spar, why don't you send your people up? Naturally, if we spar against the experts from the Immortal Qinbian Gate, we won't be responsible for any casualties." Tenlan Hai was undoubtedly declaring war against Qin Wentian. The gazes of everyone turned over, only to see Qin Wentian smiling. This time around, none of the experts from my Immortal Qinbian Gate are at the first level of Immortal Foundation. I won't bully the weak. You can go up yourself. Tenlan Hai spoke. Qin Wentian was merely at the second level of Immortal Foundation. Me? A strange light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. He glanced at Yufeng, who was on the platform, only to see Yufeng clasping his hands to him. Please guide me. A very arrogant person. Qin Wentian glanced at Yufeng. Although Yufeng's tone was amiable, he was actually extremely arrogant. This man established a king-grade Immortal Foundation at the first level of Immortal Foundation, had tyrannical combat prowess and a unique physique. He did indeed have the qualifications to be arrogant. The experts from the Evergreen Kingdom also stared at Qin Wentian, actually hoping that Qin Wentian would step up. When this fellow broke through to Immortal Foundation, a phenomenon manifested in the heavens. He was tyrannical and had unparalleled combat prowess. Now that his cultivation base has already broken through to the second level of Immortal Foundation, he would surely be even more tyrannical than before. Most probably it wouldn't be a problem for him to defeat Yufeng. Please guide me. Yufeng continued when he saw Qin Wentian remaining silent. His arrogance was evident from the fact that he had challenged Qin Wentian twice. Go back and cultivate for several tens of years. Maybe you would be qualified for me to fight. But now you are still not worthy. Qin Wentian couldn't help but reply domineeringly when he saw Yufeng challenging him twice. Although his voice was calm, he didn't conceal his arrogance at all. This caused the gazes of everyone to freeze as they stared at him. Truly, each of them was more arrogant than the other. This Yufeng's combat prowess was terrifying. It wouldn't be too exaggerated to say that he could fight against second-level immortals. He was already at the peak of the first level and should have already reached the pinnacle of this level. Yet, Qin Wentian actually said that Yufeng wasn't worthy for him to fight. Boasting shamelessly. Tenlan Hai coldly spoke. Everyone knows how to boast. You will only know after you try. Do you want to try? I don't mind that your cultivation base is higher than mine. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he stared sharply at Tenlan Hai. Chapter 1105. Yufeng jumped levels to challenge Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian also jumped levels to challenge Tenlan Hai. The arrogance of these two was clearly etched on their faces. Their calm words were unable to mask the flames of conflict in their hearts. Tenlan Hai stared at Qin Wentian as a faint smile appeared on his face. However, he only saw Tenlanjiang looking straight ahead as he emotionlessly spoke. Not just anyone has the qualifications to challenge a prince of the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom. Not just anyone has the qualifications to challenge young Master Qin of the Immortal Qinbian Gate. An immortal king beside Qin Wentian retorted with no hesitation when he heard Tenlanjiang's insulting words. In addition, a certain Silk Pants prince of the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom can't even be mentioned in the same breath as young Master Qin. Tenlanjiang's eyes abruptly turned sharp as he stared in the direction of the Immortal Qinbian Gate. At this moment, an expert from the Solar Sky Mountain spoke. Since Yufeng's cultivation base is inferior, a second-level Immortal Foundation expert should be able to challenge you, right? Tenlanjiang waved his hand when he heard this. A second-level Immortal Foundation expert walked up the platform to replace Yufeng. That expert then pointed to Qin Wentian. Come out and fight. Qin Wentian glanced at that person. You are not worthy. Maybe I would be a little interested if a prince of your empire were to fight me. Are you arrogant or do you not dare to accept my challenge? That person stared at Qin Wentian, his tone impudent, as though he wanted to infuriate Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to fight him. Only to see that at this moment, a third-level Immortal Foundation young man walked out from the side of Qin Wentian. This person was from the Battle Saint tribe and had an extremely aged countenance. He glanced in the direction of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and spoke to Tenlon Hai. You, come out and fight. What status do you have? Are you even worthy to challenge a prince? The person opposite him coldly spoke. Is he arrogant or does he not dare to accept my challenge? This young man from the Battle Saint tribe returned the words of his opponent back to him. This caused his opponent to narrow his eyes as he coldly laughed. Since this is the case, I shall test your strength with a second-level Immortal Foundation cultivation base. As the sound of his voice faded, his aura erupted forth. The might of his Immortal Foundation swept through the air as a starry sky appeared in the air. An incomparably gigantic stone giant appeared, exuding boundless might. As a bright light flashed, numerous boulders rained down with extreme speed, transforming into streams of light that resembled meteors. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out from the battle platform as the meteors shot towards the young man from the Battle Saint tribe. The young man from the Battle Saint tribe radiated an immortal light as he donned a battle armor. When the meteors slammed into him, intense sounds of impact could be heard. However, those incomparably gigantic meteors actually had no way to harm him at all. Roar! A thunderous roar rang out. The young man from the Battle Saint tribe grabbed out with his hands as a deafening roar echoed in the air. An incomparably gigantic divine ape appeared in the air, exuding boundless might. With a single punch, the space trembled as all the meteors shattered. The divine ape blasted out with its palm, blasting apart the gigantic stone giant. A scream of misery rang out as the body of the young man was directly flung through the air, slamming into the light screen. His Immortal Foundation was already shattered. He was now a cripple. Boom boom boom. Many experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom stood up as their auras erupted forth. Their subordinate was actually crippled by this young man. Everyone, what are you all doing? Chongqing Longhao stared in the direction of the banquet of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, as he calmly spoke. Isn't this man a little too ruthless? An expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom coldly spoke as he stared at the person whose Immortal Foundation was crippled. If I didn't remember wrongly, earlier it was His Highness Tenlon Hai, who said that he wouldn't be responsible for any casualties when sparring with the Immortal Champion Gate. Since this is what His Highness said, in that case, Chongqing Longhao's voice was as calm as ever. Qin Wentian mockingly laughed. You can't afford to lose? The experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom went up to support the injured. The coldness radiating from them was as intense as ever. However, the young man from the Battle Saint tribe calmly spoke. You all have to pay a price for being too full of yourself. After speaking, he directly turned and walked down the platform, returning to stand behind Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian lifted his wine cup and drank a mouthful. His eyes didn't shift to the side as he spoke. It's fine if you all want to challenge me. However, it's best not to send just anyone. I'm not that free. Also, for those powers that want to challenge me, as long as I accept the challenge, when the people from my Immortal Champion Gate wish to challenge one of you, don't pretend to be so noble and lofty. The meaning of Qin Wentian's words was very clear. If the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wanted to find trouble with him, they would have to pay a corresponding price. In addition, he would also return the favor. After the people from the Immortal Champion Gate challenged him, if Tenlon Hai didn't accept the challenge, the Immortal Champion Gate wouldn't accept it. There are many experts from the Immortal Champion Gate. Their formation consists of over 100 people, and there are people from all levels of Immortal Foundation. It won't be difficult to find opponents to challenge. At this moment, an expert from the Solar Sky Mountain provoked. It's indeed a good challenge. If you all wish to challenge me, I welcome you all to do so at any time. Qin Wentian smiled at the experts from the Solar Sky Mountain, feeling extremely confident. The youths from the Battle Saint tribe he brought out weren't all at the high level of Immortal Foundation. Instead, he chose the most outstanding ones based on their talent and adaptability. Their innate talent was already extremely outstanding, and after the baptism of the sacred luminance, their talent was extremely terrifying. There was really nothing to be worried about in such a battle. Since this is the case, I do wish to experience it for myself. An expert from the Solar Sky Mountain coldly spoke. Before this, Qin Wentian ordered one of his subordinates to cripple one of their experts, and that expert was a peak-level Immortal Foundation expert. An expert from the Solar Sky Mountain walked out. He was at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation, and exuded an extraordinary aura. With a single glance, one could tell that he was different from the expert who was crippled. He should be an extraordinary genius from the Solar Sky Mountain, a direct descendant of the Solar Sky Mountain. This person stood there, exuding a unique aura. He stared in the direction of the Immortal Qinbian Gate as he spoke. Would someone from the Immortal Qinbian Gate please guide me? Qin Wentian glanced behind him. A moment later, a young man from the Battle Saint tribe with a cultivation base at the 7th level walked out, standing opposite the expert from the Solar Sky Mountain. His aura was similarly extraordinary, and the moment he stood there, he gave off a feeling that every part of his body was filled with battle might. It was like he was an innate battle saint. How does the Solar Sky Mountain want to fight? What is the bottom line for both parties? Qin Wentian asked. Since you have already said before, injuries and deaths are unavoidable in sparring. If not, it would be very hard for them to unleash their full strength if we allow them to control their attacks. Just let them do what they want. The expert from the Solar Sky Mountain seemed to be exceptionally confident in the young man who stood on the platform. He spoke in a calm voice. In the previous battle, an expert from the Solar Sky Mountain was crippled. He naturally had to take revenge. Fine. Qin Wentian only spoke a single word and didn't say anything more. The young man from the Solar Sky Mountain released his Immortal Foundation. This time around, the scene was much more magnificent compared to the previous two battles. The entire sky above the battle platform changed color as a diagram of destructive flames appeared in the air. Bolts of lightning could be seen flickering within the flames, creating a scene of destruction. The Immortal Foundation formed from the fusion of astral rivers appeared. It was a fearsome fire-type greater demon with a malevolent head and a gigantic body, exuding a baleful aura. With a single glance, one could tell that this Immortal Foundation was a fusion of a beast-type astral soul, a fire-type astral soul, and a lightning-type astral soul. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar rang out as the Immortal Foundation of a divine ape appeared. The Immortal Foundation of the experts from the Battle Saint tribe was none other than the divine ape. This was the totem of their tribe, and their immortal foundations were all formed from the divine ape. This divine ape was incomparably gigantic and was clad in a golden body. With a single glance, it seemed to contain boundless might, able to shatter the heavens. The expert from the Solar Sky Mountain stepped out. Both of them stood in the starry space as boundless lightning and flames radiated with destructive light, blasting towards the expert from the Battle Saint tribe. The gigantic shadow of the divine ape stood behind the young man from the Battle Saint tribe, augmenting his might. With a single glance, it was as though this young man from the Battle Saint tribe was a king of battle. He was clad in a resplendent battle armor that seemed indestructible. The powerful might of the Immortal Foundation blasted onto him, yet it had no effect at all. The gazes of everyone turned to the young man from the Battle Saint tribe, feeling fear in their hearts. Which tribe is this expert from? His combat prowess is actually so strong, like an innate king of battle. The spectators mused. To think that there would actually be such an elite existence in the Immortal Qinbian Gate. Only to see that at this moment, the young man from the Battle Saint tribe blasted out with his palms. The divine ape shadow behind him moved in sync with him as a fearsome divine ape palm imprint blasted out, wanting to annihilate everything. The expert from the Solar Sky Mountain roared and punched out with both his fists. The greater demon howled in rage as it blasted out, causing rumbling sounds of destruction to shake the heavens and earth. Terrifying aftershocks blasted into the light barrier around the battle platform, causing the incomparably sturdy platform to tremble. Boom! With a deafening sound, the spectators only saw the greater flame demon shattering into pieces. The destructive light barrier in the air crumbled inch by inch, creating a scene of destruction. The expert from the Solar Sky Mountain screamed in agony as his immortal foundation was destroyed, becoming a cripple. When the spectators saw the gigantic fist of the divine ape dissipating, there was only one word in their minds: powerful. The combat prowess of this subordinate of Qin Wentian from the immortal Qianbian Gate was simply too overbearing. Such combat prowess was definitely at the peak. Also, the light around the young man from the Battle Saint tribe, as well as his immortal foundation, were so perfect and flawless, there were no flaws at all. This bestowed him with an incomparably tyrannical attack power. Sorry, I didn't expect him to be so weak that he couldn't even withstand a single strike. The young man from the Battle Saint tribe glanced in the direction of the Solar Sky Mountain before he descended, preparing to return. Hold on. A voice rang out from the direction of the Supreme Sword School. A young man with an ancient sword strapped to his back stared at the battle platform as he spoke. I really wish to spar with you, sir. Can you grant me some guidance? The young man from the Battle Saint tribe glanced at Qin Wentian only to see Qin Wentian nodding his head lightly. He then replied, sure. When sparring, don't go overboard, don't destroy your opponent's immortal foundation, and don't harm your opponent's life. How about it? In the direction of the Supreme Sword School, someone spoke to Qin Wentian. It was as though they feared the tyrannical combat prowess of the young man from the Battle Saint tribe, and didn't want to end up like the expert from the Solar Sky Mountain. Sure. Qin Wentian nodded in reply. Since the other party took the initiative to speak, he naturally wouldn't give face to the Supreme Sword School. Chapter 1106. The expert from the Supreme Sword School was also at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation, the same as the young man from the Battle Saint tribe. The Supreme Sword School was a peak power in the eastern regions. They naturally wouldn't use people with a higher cultivation base to spar. The expert from the Battle Saint tribe had an ancient sword on his back. He walked towards the expert from the Battle Saint tribe and bowed. Sir, I can see that your attacks are extremely powerful. The people from my Supreme Sword School are also proficient in attacking. Please guide us. The young man from the Battle Saint tribe nodded. After that, the divine ape shadow appeared again as a battle armor revolved around him, shining resplendently, exuding a fearsome might. Those chosen by Tian from the Battle Saint tribe were all people with the most outstanding combat prowess. All of them had an innate advantage and were born to be warriors. Even if their ancestors were stripped of their strongest inheritance, they still had to awaken their Battle Saint blood in order to become a core disciple. One could say that their blood and bones were all burning with a will to battle. Before this, the aura they exuded was the same as well. The people around Qin Wentian from the Thousand Transformations Immortal sect seem to be from the same powerful clan and have cultivated the same techniques. No wonder the Thousand Transformations Immortal sect could stand against the Eastern Sage Immortal sect. Seems like they have some extraordinary aspects. Someone silently mused. An expert from the Paragon Sword sect radiated a terrifying sword might. The sword of the Paragon Sword sect contained the aura of a paragon. The entire sky was filled with sword might and sword intent. He stood in the center, a paragon of swords, able to control the sword might in the sky. Numerous sharp swords floated behind this expert from the Paragon Sword sect. There were tens of thousands of swords, and each of them had sword runes on them. These runes were the terrifying laws of the sword, and with a single glance they seemed invincible. There was no one who could block his sword. Everyone stared at this battle. A powerful attack against a supreme defense. Would this expert from the Supreme Sword School be able to break through the battle armor of his opponent? Sir, be careful. That expert from the Supreme Sword School pointed out with his finger. A moment later, the 10,000 swords shot out, containing Paragon sword might. Each sword contained law energy and runic light, exuding terrifying might. The light radiating from the young man from the Battle Saint tribe was boundlessly resplendent. Even his body seemed to be able to radiate light as his body expanded. His entire body was like an indestructible divine weapon, shimmering with terrifying runic light. He punched out as battle chi gushed forth from the bones in his body, suppressing everything. The sword chi directly shattered and some of the sword might blasted into his body, yet they had no way to break through the battle armor he wore. Upon seeing this scene, that expert from the Supreme Sword School froze. The sword might around him abruptly dissipated as he stared ahead in a daze. As a heaven chosen from the Supreme Sword School, his cultivation base could be considered very high as well, But this battle just started, and he already understood that he had no chance of victory. It was basically impossible. Sir, your talent is truly shocking, 1 in 100 million. I'm impressed. The swordsman from the Supreme Sword School clasped his hands and admitted defeat to the young man from the Battle Saint tribe. After that he walked away. The young man from the Battle Saint tribe also turned and returned to the side of Qin Wentian. Seems like at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation, most probably no one would be able to stand against the Immortal Champion Gate. He wondered if the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom would have such a demon-level character that could stand against that young man with such shocking talent. The Immortal Champion Gate did produce 1 or 2 geniuses. Tenlon Jiang saw many people glancing over at him. He then continued, however, that's all there is to it. Is that so? Does the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom want to spar with someone from my Immortal Champion Gate? If this is the case, I'm more than happy to accompany you. Qin Wentian replied. Tenlon Jiang's gaze was filled with provocation when he stared at Qin Wentian. He wanted nothing more than to kill Qin Wentian right now. However, he wouldn't forget the purpose of his trip here. This time around he came for the sake of the Evergreen Kingdom. It wouldn't be too late to settle the debt with Qin Wentian later. Ignoring Qin Wentian's voice, Tenlon Jiang, the prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, looked at the experts of the Evergreen Kingdom again and said with a smile, I heard that Princess Qinger is the disciple of GD. She is extremely talented and is destined to be an emperor. Like Princess Liuli, she is also a talented and beautiful princess of the Evergreen Kingdom. Today I only see Princess Liuli. Is Princess Qinger in the palace? My sister is currently cultivating at Matriarch Ji's place. She isn't in the royal palace. Evergreen Longhao didn't know what Sky Miss Jiang was trying to say. He actually suddenly mentioned Qinger. That's a pity. My younger brother, Tenlon Hai, has fallen in love with Princess Liuli at first sight. He wants to see Princess Qinger again to fulfill one of his wishes. This guy is impatient and always wants to marry her as soon as possible. Tenlon Jiang said with a smile, I have mentioned to him many times that the 2 princesses will become his concubines to fulfill the agreement between the elders and bring the 2 princesses to the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. However, he is so impatient that he insists on coming to pick them up in person. Your Highness Jiang. When Chongqing Longhao heard the other party's words, his tone gradually became serious and he said, Don't talk nonsense. My father is in charge of the Evergreen Kingdom now. My father has never betrothed Sister Qinger and Sister Liuli to anyone else, let alone to His Highness Tenlon Hai. Your Highness Jiang's words will damage the reputation of the 2 princesses. Although Your Highness is a guest, please be careful with your words. With someone as a witness and a deed as proof, how can I talk nonsense about such a thing? The people who will step on the platform later will be the members of the royal family of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. If His Highness Longhao is not satisfied with my younger brother, Tenlon Hai, you can also look for others. If they can be favored by His Highness Longhao and be betrothed to the princesses, it will be their glory. Tenlon Jiang laughed uproariously. Alright, let's talk about this after we meet the Evergreen Immortal Emperor. From now on, all of you better perform well, don't disappoint His Highness Longhao. There were several young geniuses beside Tenlon Jiang. Before this, they had been quietly standing there, exuding an extraordinary aura. They followed the envoy group to the Evergreen Kingdom, and were all members of the royal family of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. In addition, they were the most outstanding Immortal Foundation characters in the royal family. If not, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wouldn't have sent them here to embarrass themselves. Evergreen Longhao's eyes flashed with unhappiness. The Sky Mist Immortal Empire was in his imperial palace, yet they didn't hold back their words at all, not bothering to restrain themselves. You guys go up. Sky Mist Jiang spoke to a group of people on the right. As the sound of his voice faded, 9 figures walked out and stepped onto the battle platform. These 9 people had a common point, all of them were at the upper 3rd level of Immortal Foundation. The weakest among them was at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation. The 9 of them stood in a row as a fearsome might gushed forth from them, causing their auras to intensify. It's too slow to spar one by one. His Highness Longhao can get the Evergreen Kingdom to send 9 experts at the 7th level and above to spar. Any cultivation level is fine. Tenlon Jiang spoke. After he spoke, The 9 of them turned to Chongqing Longhao and spoke in unison. Please guide us. Qin Wentian stared at these experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. These people came prepared and most probably wouldn't be easy to deal with. Although Tenlon Jiang allowed Chongqing Longhao to choose whichever cultivation level he wanted, it was naturally impossible for the major powers to send 9 ninth-level Immortal Foundation experts to spar. They would choose people of the same cultivation level as the 9 opponents. Who is willing to fight? Chongqing Longhao didn't expect that Tenlon Jiang didn't challenge them one by one, and directly issued a challenge to all 9 of them. For a moment he felt a headache coming on. This time around, the Evergreen Kingdom had also made preparations. There were some extremely demon-level geniuses from the Evergreen Kingdom, and if they fought alone, their chances of victory would be very high. But for a group battle, they would need to have the strength of the entire group. Nobility geniuses from the Evergreen Kingdom stepped out one after another, all of them radiating a sharp battle might. Chongqing Longhao chose 9 outstanding geniuses and as expected, their cultivation bases were exactly the same as the 9 opponents. They didn't take advantage of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom at all. It's my honor to be able to spar with the geniuses from the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. If I accidentally injure any of you later, I hope that you won't take offense. A person clasped his hands and spoke. The experts from the Evergreen Kingdom coldly snorted in their hearts, but there were also people who clasped their hands and smiled. Same here. Everyone please. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Terrifying auras gushed forth as a miraculous scene appeared in the air. The 9 experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom stood in different locations, waiting in formation. This battle platform was very large and could easily accommodate 18 people fighting. As long as they didn't flee, their combat prowess wouldn't be affected. In the vast space, the experts from the various powers stared at this scene. 18 experts at the upper 3 levels of Immortal Foundation unleashed their Immortal Foundation might at the same time was extremely shocking. The resplendent light caused everyone to be dazzled. What are they doing? At this moment the eyes of the crowd froze. The 9 experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom actually stood in a formation with an 8th level Immortal Foundation expert in the center. The others seemed to be supporting him, setting up defenses. That 8th level Immortal Foundation expert floated in the air, as the shadow of a divine elephant appeared behind him. It was incomparably gigantic and it inclined its head and let out a roar of rage, causing the light barrier around the battle platform to tremble. This divine elephant was bathed in a circular diagram, as though it was bathed in divine light. The dripping bloodline of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom inherited the power of the divine elephant, using the divine elephant as their totem. This person must be a true descendant of the royal bloodline of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, and is also a prince character. In addition, he is many times more outstanding compared to Tenlon Hai. The hearts of everyone were as clear as a mirror when they saw this scene. The 9 experts from the Evergreen Immortal Empire were all extraordinary as well. They instantly launched their attacks, only to see the expert bathed in divine elephants roaring. An incomparably gigantic elephant manifested and directly trampled downwards. Such supreme strength caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. The 8 experts in the surroundings also set up defenses for him, as though they wanted to hand the battle to him. Boom! A nobility expert from the Evergreen Kingdom was trampled by the gigantic elephant. His cultivation base was at the 8th level of Immortal Foundation, and he unleashed a terrifying attack, wanting to shatter the elephant. However, the strength of the elephant was so great that it was impossible to block it. Careful! The others all rushed over, unleashing tyrannical attacks at the gigantic elephant, destroying the shadow of the elephant. However, the person who was struck still coughed out a mouthful of blood. Another heaven-shaking elephant trumpet rang out. The divine light behind that expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom unceasingly cascaded downwards as particles of light shot out. These particles suddenly grew incomparably large, transforming into a gigantic demonic elephant that caused the sky to change color. Law of Sumeru. The eyes of everyone flashed as their hearts pounded. Law of Sumeru was an extremely rare type of energy. Chapter 1107. Sumeru referred to boundlessness. High-grade storage worlds not only contain spatial law energy, they also contain Sumeru energy. This was the so-called Sumeru mustard seed. Sumeru mustard seed could hide a boundlessly vast world within a single particle. Sumeru law energy contained a miraculous ability. Just like the ability used by this genius from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, he could transform a single particle of energy into a gigantic divine elephant, unleashing a terrifying might that could destroy the heavens and earth. The countenances of the experts from the Evergreen Heaven Kingdom all grew unsightly. They inclined their heads and stared at the sky. The gigantic space of the battle platform was completely enveloped by the divine elephants, wanting to destroy everything. Every single particle transformed into a gigantic elephant, capable of crushing humans to death. The disciples from the Evergreen Heaven Kingdom were all extremely powerful. They forcefully used their attacks to break through the suppression. However, at this moment the other experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom didn't forget to attack while defending. In the blink of an eye, several experts from the Evergreen Kingdom were injured. The battle didn't last for too long, but it felt like the outcome of this battle was already determined. The talent of this man is extremely high. Qin Wentian glanced at the 8th level Immortal Foundation expert. His opponent's Divine Elephant Immortal Foundation seemed to be on the verge of perfection. It should be a 5th-tier King-grade Immortal Foundation, just a step away from becoming a perfect Saint-grade Immortal Foundation. In addition to his Sumeru energy, Divine Elephant energy, as well as other powerful law energy, they transformed into a tyrannical innate technique that contained terrifying might. In this battle, the Evergreen Kingdom would definitely be defeated. There wasn't a single genius who could contend against this expert. And as expected, the battle was one-sided. Under the leadership of the terrifying genius from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Evergreen Kingdom was swiftly defeated. One by one, the experts from the Evergreen Kingdom were all injured, and the battle ended very quickly. The spectators were all in a daze when they saw the end of the battle. They didn't expect the Evergreen Kingdom to be defeated so quickly, and in such a miserable manner. The envoy from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was at the upper 3 levels of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, yet they completely defeated the disciples from the Evergreen Kingdom, who were at the nobility level. Thank you for letting me win. Sky Miss Zhang had a faint smile on his face as he spoke. Your Highness Longhao, seems like after that incident in the past, the Evergreen Immortal Empire has suffered a great blow. The talents of the younger generations are all much weaker. If this is the case, once the Evergreen Immortal Empire starts a war again, I'm afraid they would definitely suffer a calamity. Sky Miss Zhang's words were filled with an unmasked threat. It was as though he wanted to use this spar to remind the Evergreen Immortal Empire of something. It's only normal for juniors to be strong or weak. Your Highness Zhang actually dared to look down on the strength of my Evergreen Immortal Empire just because of a sparring match? Isn't that ridiculous? Back then, the Sky Mist Immortal Empire didn't look favorably on my father, but now, my father has already become the Immortal Emperor of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, controlling this vast territory. It's normal for the younger generation to be strong and weak. Your Highness Jiang, isn't it ridiculous to deny the strength of the Evergreen Kingdom just because of a battle? In the past, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom didn't look favorably upon my father. But now my father has become the great emperor of the Evergreen Kingdom. Haha, not necessarily. To some extent, the strength of the younger generation reflects the strength of the faction. Tenlon Zhang replied with a laugh. What a joke. Just because you have carefully prepared a battle and won, you think that you can suppress everything? From afar a voice boomed out, only to see several figures flying over from the air, all of them exuding extraordinary auras. When they came to the side of Evergreen Longhao, there were people who instantly gave way. These people were all nobility characters of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. It's getting more and more lively. Tenlon Zhang casually smiled. The people on the platform had already retreated. The leader of the Supreme Sword School laughed. To think that the battle would be so fascinating. Since this is the case, my Supreme Sword School would like to join in the fun as well. My Supreme Sword School also wishes to spar against the geniuses of the Evergreen Kingdom. As the sound of his voice faded, 9 silhouettes stepped out at the same time, directly rushing towards the battle platform. In just an instant, 9 people stood on the platform. These 9 people were all at the middle 3 levels of Immortal Foundation, ranging from the 4th level to the 6th level. At this instant, the gazes of everyone froze. The synchronized movements of the Supreme Sword School didn't seem to be a last-minute spar. Also, as the sound of that person's voice faded, the 9 of them involuntarily stepped out. It was so natural, as though they had long decided to do so. If one were to say that this was a coincidence, no one would believe it. Chongqing Long Hao's expression instantly turned heavy. This was different from the challenge from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom earlier. Everyone understood that the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom came with ill intentions and wanted to suppress the Evergreen Kingdom. In fact, they even arrogantly came to the royal palace to propose marriage, wanting to bring away the 2 most outstanding princesses of the Evergreen Kingdom. However, the Supreme Sword School didn't do so. The Evergreen Kingdom didn't know that the Supreme Sword School would do the same thing as the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom at this moment. This indicated that the Supreme Sword School might have joined forces with the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Among the major powers of the eastern regions, the Evergreen Kingdom was situated in the middle. To their north was the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, while to their south was the Supreme Sword School. One in the south, the Evergreen Kingdom was sandwiched in the middle. If these 2 powers had the intention to join forces to deal with the Evergreen Kingdom, it would be extremely unfavorable news to the Evergreen Kingdom. And right now, the Paragon Sword Sect's actions clearly had this layer of meaning hidden within. The expressions of the experts of the Immortal Champion Gate also changed slightly. The people here were all people with extraordinary wisdom. How could they not see the subtlety of the situation? Before this, Qin Wentian saw that the Supreme Sword School was quite polite to the various powers, but he didn't expect that they had been preparing for such a sudden challenge. The Evergreen Kingdom is located in the middle of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Supreme Sword School. If these 2 powers join forces to suppress the Evergreen Kingdom, it will definitely be disastrous news for the Evergreen Kingdom, and our Immortal Champion Gate will also appear to be in a passive position. Beside Qin Wentian, an Immortal King transmitted his voice to Qin Wentian. The Immortal Champion Gate was slightly weak in the eastern regions of the Immortal Realm. As a newly rising power, it was surrounded by various powers. Therefore, the Immortal Champion Gate wanted to make friends with some powers and make use of the relationship between Qin Wentian and Qing'er. This would undoubtedly make the Evergreen Kingdom and the Immortal Champion Gate friendly, but at the same time, they would also have to bear the hostility of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. This was relative, there were pros and cons. But with the Supreme Sword School's involvement, if the Immortal Champion Gate got too close to the Evergreen Kingdom, from the perspective of the Immortal Champion Gate, it would completely do more harm than good. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. He naturally understood this principle. But from his personal standpoint, he would not care about these battles between the Immortal Kingdoms for the time being. However, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom used Qing'er as an excuse to humiliate and make Qing'er marry Tenlon Hai. This was absolutely unacceptable to him. The atmosphere of the banquet gradually changed. Anyone could see that this conspiracy against the Evergreen Kingdom was slowly unfolding. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Supreme Sword School entered the palace of the Evergreen Kingdom in the name of learning from each other, openly provoking and suppressing the Evergreen Kingdom. Moreover, the Supreme Sword School did not do anything out of line from the beginning to the end. This was originally a battle platform for learning from each other. The Supreme Sword School only said that they wanted to learn from each other with the nobility disciples of the Evergreen Kingdom. That was all. The Evergreen Kingdom could only accept the challenge. Chongqing Longhao's cold eyes flickered as he looked at the geniuses around him. Back then, the internal strife of the Evergreen Kingdom had indeed weakened the strength of the Immortal Kingdoms. Many talented and outstanding people had perished in that disaster. The forces that were hostile to the Chongqing the Great also had many geniuses from the Immortal Kingdoms. However, after they were defeated, most of them were killed. Now, the strength of the Evergreen Kingdom at all levels could be said to be inferior to the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. In fact, it was unknown if the Evergreen Kingdom could even be compared to the Supreme Sword School. These 2 forces seemed to be taking this opportunity to stop the rise of the Evergreen Kingdom. Please guide me. On the battle platform, the experts of the Supreme Sword School stared at Chongqing Longhao as they urged. Many of the mid-tier 3rd-level Immortal Foundation experts from the Evergreen Kingdom stepped out, wanting to fight. Finally, Chongqing Longhao chose 9 experts and allowed them to step onto the battle platform. In an instant, the 9 Immortal Foundation experts from the Supreme Sword School radiated boundless sword might. The person in the center was the strongest. He had a cultivation base at the 6th level of Immortal Foundation, and the sword intent radiating from him was a king among paragons. His gaze was incomparably sharp, and with a wave of his finger, the sword might from the surrounding experts gathered towards him, allowing him to control the sword might of others. Not good. The countenances of the experts from the Evergreen Kingdom drastically changed. This person was actually the legendary Sword King of the Supreme Sword School. He was an innate Sword King and could control any sword chi or sword might. In fact, he could even control the sword might of others and use it for himself. He was a true paragon of swords. The geniuses of the Evergreen Kingdom are in for it. They will lose for sure. Many people spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian turned his gaze to the immortal king beside him only to hear the immortal king speaking in a low voice. The Supreme Sword School has its own unique inheritance. There are demon-level geniuses who would be able to give birth to a paragon sword soul after obtaining the inheritance. Only 1 in a billion would be born, and they are naturally the kings of swords. Every time such a character appears in the Supreme Sword School, they would become the leader of their generation and have to be nurtured with all their might. The Sword Lord candidate of the Supreme Sword School is somewhat similar to the holy successor of the Namhuang clan. However, the holy successor would only be chosen once every 100 years, but such a person might not even appear in the Supreme Sword School in 10 million years. As the two of them were conversing, the battle had already erupted. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over and saw the innate Sword King displaying his might. He was incomparably proficient in controlling swords, and the sword intent of the 9 experts were all concentrated on him. When he slashed out with his sword, it was like a bolt of lightning, instantly piercing through the body of an expert. That expert screamed in agony as he slammed into the barrier of light. However, he didn't die. Clearly, his opponent had perfect control over his attack. The other experts from the Evergreen Kingdom all launched their attacks, yet they only saw that innate Sword King standing proudly in the air. With a wave of his hand, a resplendent screen of swords appeared before him, destroying all the incoming attacks. He then pointed his finger in a certain direction. Instantly, numerous beams of sword light shot out, so fast that the eyes of the spectators couldn't even keep up with the speed of the swords. Another piercing sound rang out as the body of that expert was pierced through. He was defeated. There's no suspense at all. Qin Wentian silently mused when he saw this scene. In this vast space, the experts from the various powers all had the same thought. They stared at the battle platform, watching as the experts from the Evergreen Kingdom fell one after another. Chapter 1108. Staring at the end of the battle, the 9 marquises from the Evergreen Immortal Empire were all defeated. Their bodies dyed red with blood. The spectators couldn't help but to sigh silently. Seems like the younger generations of the Evergreen Immortal Empire were somewhat lacking. However, this couldn't be blamed. After the turmoil, the bloodline of the Evergreen Immortal Emperor didn't produce too many descendants. As for the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, it had always been controlling the internal strife of the Evergreen Kingdom. The Supreme Sword School had also silently developed for many years. Their foundation was much deeper compared to the Evergreen Kingdom after the turmoil. From a certain perspective, Tenlon Zhang's words weren't without reason. The younger generation of a power could reflect the foundation of a power. If the overall strength of the younger generation of a power was clearly stronger than the other powers, this indicated that the foundation of that power was already very deep. Naturally, the sparring on the platform might not be able to represent the overall strength of the younger generation, but at the very least some clues could be seen. The 9 members of the Supreme Sword School stood in a row and clasped their hands to the young man from the Evergreen Kingdom. "Thank you for letting me win." Complete victory. The Supreme Sword School is indeed a supreme sect of the sword. Not only that, they even gave birth to an innate king of the sword. In comparison, the Evergreen Kingdom seems to be lacking. Tenlon Zhang calmly spoke. "Given your strength, Your Highness Longhao actually still dares to deny the agreement between the 2 great immortal empires. This is truly surprising. A spar is a spar, but a promise is another matter altogether. Your Highness Zhang, aren't you going a little too far by mixing the 2 together again and again?" Evergreen Longhao's voice turned cold. He seemed very displeased. "Why can't you mix them together? The Evergreen Kingdom experienced the turmoil. Could it be that you have forgotten some of the rules of the immortal realms?" Tenlanjiang coldly spoke. In the vast immortal realms, our eastern regions naturally have their own rules. If the Evergreen Kingdom dares to go back on their words, my Tenlan Heaven Kingdom has the qualifications to invite the major powers of the eastern regions to carry out the adjudication. If Your Highness Longhao has forgotten this ancient rule, you can seek guidance from the Evergreen Immortal Emperor when you return. A rule from tens of thousands of years ago, you dare to bring it out to threaten my Evergreen Kingdom. Evergreen Longhao's countenance gradually turned sharp. His Evergreen Immortal Empire was an immortal empire, yet now the Skymist Immortal Empire actually wanted to use the rules that were abandoned many years ago, instigating the major powers of the eastern regions to conduct an adjudication, wanting to enforce the agreement. This was simply ridiculous. No wonder they would come to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to spar. Seems like His Highness Longhao also knows about this. Your Evergreen Immortal Empire isn't abiding by the agreement. Could it be that my Skymist Immortal Empire directly declared war against the Evergreen Immortal Empire? If I do that, it would be of the adjudication of the Evergreen Emperor, and the Evergreen Green, of the Major of the Evergreen Immortal Tian, Kingdom of Is. Tenlanjiang spoke slowly. Ever since he arrived at the imperial city of the Evergreen Kingdom, he had been advancing step by step, pressing forward step by step. It was obvious that he had been planning this for a long time. Senior, what is the Immortal Realm adjudication? Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to the Immortal King beside him. This is something that happened many years ago. Countless years ago, when the Immortal Realms were unified, the various powers were all governed by the strongest ancient emperors. Nobody dared to disobey them. However, the Immortal Realms were simply too vast, and the ancient emperors pursued supreme cultivation realms. They basically had no time to govern the immortal realms, and hence, the various powers still acted on their own. Between the various powers, there would often be conflicts or agreements. At this time, in order to prevent chaos from erupting, the envoys of the ancient emperors would let the various powers in the immortal realms conduct the adjudication, allowing the various powers to decide the final direction of the situation. The Immortal King at the side explained to Qin Wentian, it's just that after that, the immortal realms were divided and reunited. After the death of an ancient emperor, the various powers in the immortal realms rose up, and there was no longer an absolute ruler to govern the immortal realms. Naturally, there would be endless disputes, and the adjudication of the immortal realms no longer existed. Only a few tens of thousands of years ago did an adjudication of the immortal realms occur, and that was the last time it happened. In the past, under the rule of the ancient emperors, the envoys of the ancient emperors would only carry out the adjudication for the sake of balance. But now there are no ancient emperors in the immortal realms. The Tenlan Heaven Kingdom wants to carry out the adjudication. Doesn't this mean that they are joining forces with the other major powers to forcefully suppress the Evergreen Kingdom? And those other major powers actually dare to interfere in the matters of other countries? This is simply rude to the extreme. Qin Wentian felt rage in his heart. That's exactly what I mean. The Tenlan Heaven Kingdom wants to act on their own and carry out the adjudication. If the adjudication agreement is established, the princess of the Evergreen Kingdom would be brought away, and the Evergreen Kingdom would become a laughing stock. That immortal king transmitted his voiceover. What if the Evergreen Kingdom doesn't agree? Qin Wentian asked. As long as more than half of the participants agree, the Evergreen Immortal Empire would have no choice but to carry out the adjudication. If the Evergreen Immortal Empire and the others who reject the adjudication, they can start an adjudication battle. The ones who agree and those who reject the adjudication battle can be at the Immortal Foundation Realm, Immortal King Realm, or even Immortal Emperor Realm. For example, if Matriarch Ji and the Evergreen Immortal Empire object, while the Violet Emperor, Skymist Immortal Empire and the Paragon Sword Sect agree, Matriarch Ji and the Evergreen Immortal Empire can proceed with the adjudication battle. For every battle, life and death must be determined. If they win, the adjudication battle would be nullified. If they lose, they would have to pay double the agreed price. The Immortal King continued to transmit his voiceover to Qin Wentian. If the Evergreen Kingdom is defeated and still refuses to carry out the adjudication battle, it would mean that they have declared war against the other major powers. Naturally, the Evergreen Kingdom can also directly declare war and choose not to carry out the adjudication battle. However, no one would be willing to carry out such a war. Even for the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the repercussions of such a war would be too great. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom most probably wouldn't dare to say that they have the confidence to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom. In that case, the battle today is merely a vanguard battle. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom is constantly pressuring the Evergreen Kingdom, and even join forces with the Supreme Sword School to display their strength. They want the Evergreen Kingdom to abide by the agreement and suppress the Evergreen Kingdom bit by bit. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. The immortal king beside him nodded lightly. This battle had been planned for a long time. The matters of my Evergreen Kingdom have yet to be decided by the other major powers. Abruptly, a cold and tyrannical voice rang out in the air, reverberating through the air. It was unknown who the owner of the voice was, but the formless pressure radiating from it caused even immortal kings to feel immense pressure. The owner of the voice should be an immortal emperor-level existence. That's right. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom actually dares to bring up the matters of the ancient emperor era? How laughable. Chongqing Longhao also coldly spoke. Let me reiterate once more. The agreement made in the past cannot represent my Evergreen Kingdom. Firstly, this agreement is null and void. Is that so? Sky Miss Zhang coldly laughed. After that, he waved his hand as a scroll appeared in the air. This scroll shone with a resplendent light as it floated in the air, slowly unfurling itself. The gazes of the crowd turned over, and when they saw the words written on the scroll, their eyes gleamed with sharpness. I'm sure the nobility experts of the Evergreen Kingdom, as well as His Highness, are all familiar with the seal of the Evergreen Kingdom. This is the seal of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. Do you really think you can just deny it? Tenlon Jiang calmly spoke. That seal was a diagram, the Evergreen diagram of the Evergreen Kingdom. This was the seal of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. It was inscribed by the character who fought against the Chongqing the Great for the throne back then. Everyone should have seen it clearly, right? Tenlon Jiang waved his hand as the diagram flew back to him. He then turned his gaze to the various experts as he asked, does everyone think that the Evergreen Kingdom will abide by the agreement? Many major powers hurriedly avoided the gaze of Tenlon Jiang. This was a battle between two immortal empires. How would they dare to interfere so easily? Since it's an agreement, we naturally have to abide by it. An expert from the Solar Sky Mountain spoke. Since there's an agreement, the Evergreen Kingdom, as a peak power of the eastern regions, should naturally abide by it. An expert from the Supreme Sword School stated his stance, confirming that they were on the same side as the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Most probably, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had promised them some benefits. Chongqing Longhao's expression was extremely unsightly to behold. He turned his gaze to the other two major powers. In the direction of the Celestial Palace, an expert from the Evergreen Kingdom laughed. With the agreement in place, I believe the Evergreen Kingdom should abide by it. Everyone, it seems like you guys don't mind the matter being blown out of proportion. Chongqing Longhao coldly spoke. The Supreme Sword School, Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Celestial Palace, as well as Zidi's side. Seems like these people were intending to facilitate the adjudication of the immortal realms. To the Celestial Palace and the Taihua Empire, they were actually more than happy to see the two great immortal empires fighting each other. In any case, they only wanted to watch the show. In fact, it would be even more interesting if a war broke out between the two empires. Although this agreement exists, there's still some controversy. Princess Qing'er and Princess Lili are both outstanding juniors, and our Taihua Immortal Dynasty has also produced many outstanding youths during these years. If the Evergreen Kingdom is willing to form a marriage alliance with our Taihua Immortal Dynasty, the two princesses would already have a husband. An expert from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty laughed, his words causing the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom to silently curse this old fox in their hearts. My royal father and the White Emperor naturally have their own plans regarding the marriage of the two princesses. The two princesses naturally have the right to choose. They naturally wouldn't be affected by the so-called agreement. They also wouldn't sacrifice themselves for the benefit of the empire. Chongqing Longhao coldly spoke. The expert from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty laughed. Since your highness has already said this, my Taihua Immortal Dynasty naturally won't say anything more. Just treat it as though I've never said anything. The atmosphere of the immortal banquet was extremely heavy. Looking at the situation, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was already strong enough to initiate the adjudication. If the Evergreen Kingdom didn't agree to the adjudication, which direction would this conflict develop towards? Would it cause a huge commotion in the eastern regions? Chapter 1109. Tenlonjiang laughed. It was rumored that the Evergreen Immortal Emperor doted on his youngest daughter, Princess Qing'er. In addition, she was the disciple of GD, and had extraordinary talent as well as supreme beauty. This caused this princess to have a transcendent status. Princess Liuli was also extraordinary. She was also the daughter of the White Emperor. Back then, when the Evergreen Immortal Emperor was victorious in the Civil War, the White Emperor's contributions couldn't go unnoticed. These two princesses, the Evergreen Kingdom most probably wouldn't hand them over so easily. He stared at Chang Qinglong how as he calmly spoke. If the Evergreen Kingdom goes back on their words, the immortal adjudication will definitely be carried out. The ancient emperors have long ceased to exist. What immortal adjudication? My Evergreen Kingdom will never acknowledge it. Chang Qinglong how coldly spoke. He could clearly see the situation. If the Evergreen Kingdom initiated the adjudication, more than half of the major powers in the eastern regions would support the Evergreen Kingdom. Using such a method to interfere in the internal affairs of the Evergreen Kingdom, as well as the marriage of the princesses, was simply ridiculous. Seems like the Evergreen Kingdom is determined to go back on their words. Tenlonjiang coldly spoke. Before this, when they just entered the Evergreen Kingdom, the atmosphere wasn't so heavy. But now, both sides have already laid all their cards on the table. Even the Supreme Sword School stood out. In that case, they might as well suppress the Evergreen Kingdom in the Evergreen Kingdom. They knew the Evergreen Kingdom like the back of their hands. After all, one of Tenlonjiang's concubines was a princess of the Evergreen Kingdom. Not only so, in the imperial palace of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, there were several princesses of the Evergreen Kingdom. All of them hated the Chongqing the Great to the bone. Their loved ones were either killed or had their cultivation bases crippled. In that case, I, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, will not stand on ceremony. I will not give in to the disciples of the Evergreen Kingdom like before. I will stop every time. Tenlonjiang said slowly, in the following battles our juniors will go all out. We'll let the Evergreen Kingdom have a good look at the royal son of heaven of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Maybe you'll change your mind and marry the princess off. Are they going to get serious? The hearts of everyone trembled. Right now, although the various major powers were present at the immortal banquet, they were only treated as spectators. The so-called sparring had become the eruption point of the conflict between the two empires. They didn't want to get involved in this easily. Gotcha! A crisp sound rang out. Although the sound wasn't loud, the hearing of the experts here was extremely sharp. This was obviously the sound of a wine glass being crushed. Many people turned their gazes in the direction of the voice, only to see that in the direction of the Thousand Transformations Immortal Sect, the wine cup that the young man was playing with was crushed to pieces. The wine flowed from his hand, dripping onto the table, emitting a crisp sound. This young man was Qin Wentian. He slowly raised his head and looked in the direction of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. His expression was somewhat gloomy and unsightly. That was the Immortal Realm adjudication. Although he wasn't a citizen of the Evergreen Kingdom and didn't have deep feelings for the Evergreen Kingdom, he was somewhat angry because of Qing'er. However, what made him even angrier was that Tenlonjiang had repeatedly mentioned marrying Qing'er to the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. He even wanted to use the Immortal Realm adjudication to decide the future of Qing'er. I don't care about the agreement between you and the Evergreen Kingdom. Let's have a proper sparring session today. I don't want to hear you saying anything about marrying the princess to the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Qin Wentian stared in the direction of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom's crowd as he spoke coldly. A faint cold intent radiated from him, causing everyone to look at him. He seemed to be very angry. Why was Qin Wentian so angry? Tenlonjiang frowned. A mere person from the immortal Qinbian Gate dared to threaten an immortal king of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom? Who do you think you are? Are you even qualified to talk to me like this? The agreement between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom is not something you can talk about. Tenlonjiang coldly spat out. He hadn't even settled the score with Qin Wentian, yet this young man actually dared to talk to him like this? How insolent! Is that so? Do you believe that I won't make your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom scram out of this immortal empire with their tails between their legs? Qin Wentian stared at Tenlon Jiang. His arrogant words caused the entire immortal banquet to fall silent. The gazes of everyone turned to Qin Wentian. A young man with a cultivation base at the second level of Immortal Foundation actually dared to threaten the crown prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Tenlon Jiang? He said that he would make the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom scram out of the immortal empire with their tails between their legs. How arrogant were these words? The crowd simply didn't dare to imagine that such words would actually come from the mouth of an Immortal Foundation cultivator. How insolent! The experts of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom stared at Qin Wentian. This person was simply boasting shamelessly. Before this, they didn't seriously look for him to settle the score. Now he actually grew more and more arrogant, not placing the geniuses of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom in his eyes at all. Could it be that he thought that just a single existence with terrifying combat prowess would be able to crush the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom? I don't believe it. Tenlon Jiang spat out. He didn't believe it, he truly didn't believe it. He wanted to see what capabilities Qin Wentian had to be so arrogant. Being humiliated by someone from the immortal Qianbian Gate in such an arrogant manner? In that case, he might as well put aside the matter of the Evergreen Kingdom and properly teach the immortal Qianbian Gate a lesson, teaching this young man of the younger generation how to conduct himself. Qida, Qin Wentian called out. Behind him, Qida stepped out and stood beside Qin Wentian. Choose 8 people. Those at the upper 3 levels of Immortal Foundation are to go up. Qin Wentian spoke. Right? Qida nodded. After that, he turned his gaze behind him and directly selected 8 people as they walked up the platform. These 9 people all exuded extraordinary auras and were extremely calm. Although their auras weren't too intense, they gave off an extraordinary feeling. An instant later, the 9 of them stood on the platform. Qin Wentian spoke. The 9 experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, please guide me. As long as they are at the Immortal Foundation realm, you can choose any 9 of them. Qin Wentian issued a challenge to the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, using the same method as the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom against the Evergreen Kingdom. Before this, the 9 peak-level immortals from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom suppressed the peak-level immortals from the Evergreen Kingdom. Right now, Qin Wentian still dared to issue a challenge. From this, one could see that he was extremely confident in the 9 people on the platform. Tenlon Jiang waved his hands and a moment later, 9 experts at the same cultivation level as him walked up the platform. Each of them exuded a powerful aura, including the Immortal Foundation expert who was proficient in Sumeru law. The instant these people walked up, an intense battle intent gushed forth from them. These people from the Immortal Qianbian Gate actually dared to declare war on the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. This time around, the people from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom who came here were all outstanding elites. In order to erupt with true strength, it's inevitable that there will be casualties during a spar. What does the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom think of this? Qin Wentian spoke again. His cold voice didn't mask his arrogance at all. That's only natural. Tenlon Jiang coldly replied. Qin Wentian actually dared to take the initiative to suggest that there would be casualties during a spar. Qida, there's no need to hold back. Qin Wentian spoke to the platform. As the sound of his voice faded, the 9 of them instantly erupted forth with terrifying might. Terrifying battle intent gushed forth from the 9 of them at the same time. In addition, they moved in different directions and actually separated instead of gathering together, surrounding the entire platform. How arrogant was this battle tactic? Numerous thunderous roars rang out as resplendent battle runes circulated around them. All of them were clad in battle saint armor as the shadow of the divine ape appeared. In an instant, the expressions of everyone changed. These 9 people actually all cultivated the same type of power. They should all be from the same mysterious and powerful clan. In that case, could it be that these 9 people all had the same tyrannical combat prowess as the young man who fought earlier on the platform? The 9 experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom once again revolved around the young man who was proficient in Sumeru force. The others would defend while he would attack. Kill! Qida spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, the 9 experts from the Battle Saint tribe all launched their attacks at the same time. Their bodies expanded in size as the divine ape howled in rage, wanting to shatter everything. The experts from the Skymist Immortal Empire all released their immortal foundations and frenziedly defended. Rumbling sounds rang out as the sounds of cracking rang out. The entire battle platform was enveloped by the tyrannical might of the attacks. A supremely strong defense surrounded the experts from the Skymist Immortal Empire. But as the thunderous rumbling sounds rang out, the spectators were all sweating profusely because of that defense. Pooh! One of the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom coughed out blood as he was flung through the air. That terrifying attack was too powerful. His defense had no way to block it. At this moment, the young man who was proficient in Sumeru Force roared in rage. An incomparably gigantic divine elephant appeared, and with a wave of his hand, particles transformed into the shadow of the divine elephant, wanting to suppress everything. His expression was extremely sharp, wanting to destroy everyone. What a joke! Qin Wentian snorted. Although such an attack was powerful, it was sufficient to deal with the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom earlier. But now against the 9 experts from the Battle Saint tribe, they still wanted to use such a tactic? What sort of existences were these 9 experts? They were all elites of the Battle Saint tribe and were baptized by the sacred luminance. They were proficient in the Battle Saint arts, and if the 9 of them joined forces, they would definitely be invincible. As expected, the 9 cultivators condensed ancient seals, and gigantic shadows of divine apes appeared in front of them. No attack could break through them. No matter how the divine elephants transformed from Sumeru power attacked, they were unable to shake the gigantic divine ape shadows. Boom! Cheetah took the lead and stepped out. The other 9 experts stepped out at the same time and blasted out with their palms. Numerous golden divine ape palm imprints blasted out, blasting towards their opponents. The defenses of the 9 experts directly crumbled as they coughed out blood from the impact. The gigantic palm imprints continued blasting over, causing screams of misery to ring out as the spectators saw many immortal foundations being destroyed. Boom! In the direction of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, many experts stood up. Tenlon Zhang's expression instantly turned extremely heavy as he roared. Stay your hands. You guys can't afford to lose? Qin Wentian coldly snorted. That expert who was proficient in Sumeru energy unleashed his strongest attack. A moment later, divine elephants covered the entire platform. He pulled the experts beside him and retreated, retracting his aura. Only then did he manage to break through the protective screen of light and escape. He was in an extremely miserable state. However, there were already quite a few experts from the Skymist Immortal Empire who had their immortal foundations crippled. Chapter 11:10. The hearts of the spectators trembled when they saw how miserable the 9 elites of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom were. These 9 people were extremely powerful. Before this, they suppressed the 9 geniuses of the Evergreen Kingdom, and one of them was proficient in the law of Sumeru. Clearly, they were all demon-level geniuses nurtured by the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. But at this moment, they were directly blasted away by the violent attacks. Several among them had their immortal foundations shattered, becoming cripples. Earlier, if it wasn't for the strongest among them using the law of Sumeru to block the attacks, the 9 of them would most probably be lying on the battle platform. This battle was basically a battle on a completely different level. The disparity between the 2 sides was simply too shocking. Qin Wentian's confidence in them wasn't because he was ignorant. He truly had the strength to back them up. Which tribe are they from exactly? I've never heard of a tribe that could condense a divine ape's immortal foundation and have such terrifying combat prowess. At the very least, there's no such tribe in the eastern regions. Where did the immortal champion gate recruit them from? The spectators mused silently, but it was impossible for them to guess. The last time the Battle Saint tribe appeared in the immortal realms, it was already the era of ancient Emperor Yi. How many people would still know of this? The gazes of everyone turned to Qin Wentian only to see Qin Wentian's expression was as cold as ever. He then spoke, "Do you believe me now?" Tenlon Zhang only felt his face burning. Before this, he was still arrogant, smacking the faces of the Evergreen Kingdom. Who would have thought that he would be humiliated by an immortal foundation character from the immortal champion gate so quickly? How ridiculous! Chongqing Long Hao and the experts from the Evergreen Kingdom stared at Qin Wentian with complicated expressions. No one was clearer than the nobility of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace on the matter between this fellow and the Evergreen Kingdom. At that time, many nobility characters targeted Qin Wentian, but they would never have imagined that the young man who was surrounded and humiliated by so many nobility characters back then would actually be so unexcelled in the world now, helping the Evergreen Kingdom out of their predicament, accomplishing something that the nobility characters of the Evergreen Kingdom couldn't. Speaking of which, it was somewhat ironic. You have truly angered me. Sky Miss Jiang coldly spoke. Those who had their immortal foundations crippled were all elites of the royal clan. Each of them had extraordinary statuses and yet, their immortal foundations were actually crippled. Cheetah, come down. Qin Wentian spoke. Cheetah and the 8 others walked down the platform. After that, Qin Wentian spoke. Choose 9 mid-tier immortal foundation experts to go up? Yes. Cheetah nodded. Very swiftly, the 9 of them were chosen as they walked up the platform. Prince Skymist, please guide me. 9 mid-tier immortal foundation experts are allowed to go up. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. Staring at the 9 people who stepped up the platform, the experts from the various powers all felt their hearts trembling. Could it be that these 9 people were from the same clan as the previous 9? If they had such combat prowess, most probably none of the powers here would be able to select 9 people who could stand equally against them. Gotcha! Tenlon Jiang clenched his fists tightly as a cold intent radiated from him. He stared at Qin Wentian, his eyes gleaming with sharpness akin to swords. Why are the rules of sparring always determined by you? Tenlon Jiang coldly spoke. Qin Wentian laughed mockingly. Earlier you were so arrogant. Now you are starting to find excuses? Fine, tell me, how do you want to fight? Fight you? Tenlon Jiang spoke. I've said it before. Your people aren't qualified. Let Tenlon Hai challenge me. Maybe I can consider it. Qin Wentian replied. Are you afraid? Tenlon Jiang mocked. Fine, since you want to challenge me so much, I will agree to it. Why don't you send a 2nd-level Immortal Foundation expert, and Sky Mist High to challenge me, and a 3rd-level Immortal Foundation expert? Wouldn't this be very fair? Qin Wentian replied. You don't dare to accept the challenge and still want to find others to protect you? Tenlon Jiang coldly laughed. The one who was arrogant earlier was you. Now that I've sent 9 people up the platform, the one who doesn't dare to accept the challenge is still you. You want to challenge me? My condition is that Tenlon Hai has to fight. The one who cowers is still you. Qin Wentian's voice was as calm as ever. He turned his gaze to the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Let's fight to our heart's content. If you don't dare to, just scram out of the royal palace. What's with all the nonsense? Staring at Qin Wentian's arrogant attitude, everyone faintly felt that this wasn't a battle between the Evergreen Kingdom and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Instead, it was a battle between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Immortal Qinbian Gate. But these people from the Immortal Qinbian Gate were truly powerful to the point of causing people to feel trepidation. Tenlon Jiang, before this, you and the Supreme Sword School invited my Evergreen Kingdom for a spar and I didn't reject them. You also arrogantly said that you wouldn't be polite in the future. But now, the Immortal Qinbian Gate has defeated your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Hence, you are finding all sorts of reasons to not accept the challenge? Is this the way your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom spars? Chongqing Long Hao naturally wouldn't miss out on such an opportunity. He wanted to suppress the arrogance of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. He was similarly suppressing his anger, but he had nowhere to vent it. If this is the spar, I don't think it's necessary to continue. I have to consider whether to send you off or not, Chongqing Long Hao said coldly. The situation seemed to be a little stiff for a while. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had wanted to join forces with the Supreme Sword School to suppress the Evergreen Kingdom. Unexpectedly, Qin Wentian appeared and destroyed the situation, stirring up a storm. The leader of the Supreme Sword School looked at Qin Wentian and said, Your Excellency, you are a disciple of the Immortal Qinbian Gate. Why do you want to get involved in this mess? The agreement between the Evergreen Kingdom and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom must be fulfilled. If you want to get involved, has the Immortal Qinbian Gate thought about it clearly? I have no intention of getting involved. I don't care about the grudges between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom. But don't use the so-called agreement to threaten the princess to marry Tianlan. Otherwise it will be related to me, Qin Wentian said. Why would it be related to you? The expert of the Supreme Sword School asked. Because the princess of the Evergreen Kingdom, Qing'er, is my girlfriend. Qin Wentian stared at the other party, his eyes filled with determination. As long as Qing'er was involved in this storm, it would be impossible for him, Qin Wentian, to stand on the sidelines. He would never allow the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom to threaten Qing'er to marry Tianlan with the so-called agreement. What a joke! Princess Qing'er is engaged to the royal family of the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom. You say that she is your girlfriend? I have never heard of such a ridiculous thing. Evergreen Kingdom, do you admit it? Tenlan Jiang said sarcastically. What he said is naturally true. A melodious voice abruptly rang out. The eyes of everyone flickered as they inclined their heads and stared at the air. After that, energy fluctuations could be felt as a group of experts suddenly appeared. The woman in the lead was as cold as a snow lotus, exuding an incomparable beauty. She was as pure as ice and as pure as jade, and was so soul-stirring. What a beautiful woman! Is this the Princess Qing'er of the Evergreen Kingdom? Everyone mused, immediately guessing who she was. This beautiful woman slowly walked out, but she didn't walk in the direction of Chongqing Longhao. Instead, she walked in the direction of Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stood up. It has been many years since they last met and he missed Qing'er very much. Right now, Qing'er was already a second-level Immortal Foundation expert and was the same as him. She radiated an immortal qi and was even more beautiful than before. Her beauty was transcendent, and transcendent. Qing'er walked to the front of Qin Wentian. Her beautiful eyes were still cold, but in the depths of her eyes, Qin Wentian could sense her emotions. Stretching out his hand, Qin Wentian pulled Qing'er's dainty hand over. Qing'er's hand was soft and gentle yet cold. She didn't move, allowing Qin Wentian to hold her hand in front of the eyes of everyone. After that, she walked to the side of Qin Wentian and turned around. The two of them stood side by side, resembling the most perfect immortal couple. She is my woman, this naturally has something to do with me, Qin Wentian domineeringly spoke. At this moment, even the people of the Evergreen Kingdom pretended as though they didn't see anything. It was as though they tacitly acknowledged the relationship between Qin Wentian and Qing'er. Such a situation was something that even Qin Wentian himself didn't expect. Staring at the two of them holding hands, how could anyone still not understand why Qin Wentian would go berserk and act so domineeringly against the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom? Soaring to the heavens for the sake of a beauty. Bang! Tenlan Jiang slammed out with his palm, shattering the table in front of him. His long robes fluttered even though there was no wind, exuding a cold intent. With the contract as proof, the Evergreen Kingdom actually allowed the princess to be with another person. This is really ridiculous. Are you not afraid of damaging the princess's reputation? Tenlan Jiang said coldly, no matter what the relationship between the princess and this person is, I hope that the Evergreen Kingdom will properly handle this matter. I will ask all the forces to launch the Immortal Realm Verdict. Princess Qing'er must join my Tenlan Heaven Kingdom. Using a useless contract to talk? The so-called Immortal Realm Verdict is even more ridiculous. In the future, my Immortal Champion Gate and the Evergreen Kingdom will launch the Immortal Realm Verdict and ask the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom to cede its territory. Will your Tenlan Heaven Kingdom also abide by it? Qin Wentian saw that Tenlan Jiang still wasn't willing to give up. He coldly spoke, today on the Evergreen Kingdom Palace platform, as long as you, Tenlan Jiang, send someone up, I will accept all challenges until your Tenlan Heaven Kingdom scram out of the royal palace. Ha ha ha, Qin Wentian. You are the most arrogant Immortal Foundation expert I've ever seen. Tenlan Jiang laughed uproariously. Everything before him shattered. He stared at Qin Wentian. Since things have already reached this stage, and the Evergreen Kingdom is unwilling to acknowledge the contract, there's no need for us to continue sparring. Since you said that you will accept all challenges from my Tenlan Heaven Kingdom, I only need a single battle. You can fight me personally. If you don't dare to, stop talking nonsense. Tenlan Jiang knew that the experts from the Battle Saint tribe around Qin Wentian were all extremely powerful. If they continued sparring, he wouldn't gain any advantage. Hence, he only targeted Qin Wentian. Just a single battle? Qin Wentian released Qing'er's hand and smiled at her. I'll be right back. And Qing'er nodded lightly. After which, Qin Wentian slowly walked out, moving towards the battle platform. After that, Qin Wentian turned his gaze to Tenlanjiang. Since you want me to fight so badly, I will grant you your wish. It's just that I'm afraid you won't be able to accept the ending. You can casually choose people from the lower 3 levels of Immortal Foundation? Tenlanjiang asked. Despicable. Chang Qinglong how coldly spoke. Since it was a solo battle, he would naturally choose someone at the same cultivation level as Qin Wentian, the 2nd level of Immortal Foundation. But since Tenlanjiang intentionally said the lower 3 levels of Immortal Foundation, this meant that the 3rd level of Immortal Foundation was included. Given how arrogant Qin Wentian was, he believed that Qin Wentian would agree. In that case, Qin Wentian would definitely die here. Up to you. As expected, Qin Wentian spat out 2 words. Just like what Sky Miss Zhang had expected, a cold smile could be seen flickering in his eyes. The gaze he used to look at Qin Wentian was as though he was looking at a dead man. Chapter 11:11. Tenlanju. Tianlanjiang called out a name, and a young man walked out from behind him. This person's eyebrows were very thin, but they were clearly sharp. His gaze was very thin like a sharp sword. You can go first. Tenlanjiang spoke. Tenlanju walked up the platform and stood before Qin Wentian. When sparring you should give it your all. Life and death don't matter. Tenlanjiang spoke again. Right now their hostility was no longer masked. Everyone knew that Tenlanjiang wanted Qin Wentian to die. Qin Wentian's existence broke Tenlanjiang's suppression of the Evergreen Kingdom. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian, his Tenlan Heaven Kingdom would have caused some of the nobility members of the Evergreen Kingdom to die in the Evergreen Kingdom's royal palace, teaching them a deep lesson and crushing the morale of the Evergreen Kingdom. However, the appearance of Qin Wentian caused his Tenlan Heaven Kingdom to be suppressed instead. This was something Tenlanjiang couldn't tolerate. In addition, since those royal members had their immortal foundations crippled, Qin Wentian had to die no matter what. Please guide me. Qin Wentian had his hands behind his back as he stared at Tenlanju, who walked up the platform. His opponent's aura gushed forth as the shadow of a divine elephant appeared. Many of the core members of the royal clan of the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom had condensed their immortal foundations in the form of divine elephants. This divine elephant's immortal foundation contained a terrifying immortal glow, exuding a fearsome immortal might. The entire space changed color as the sky was dyed red, resembling the color of hell. The shadow of the divine elephant seemed to have stepped out from the blood-colored flames of hell, resembling a divine elephant king of lava, exuding a terrifying heat as well as an overwhelming might. Everyone inclined their heads and stared at the sky above the battle platform. The terrifying Hell Devil Mammoth contained an unfathomable might. Most probably, Tenlanju's immortal foundation has already been condensed into a king-grade immortal foundation. That immortal foundation seemed to be filled to the brim, exuding resplendent immortal light. Qin Wentian's aura gushed forth as halos revolved around him. His immortal foundation shimmered with immortal light, transforming into the shadow of a divine elephant. Boom! Tenlanju took a step forward, and suddenly, the shadow of the divine elephant in the air attacked Qin Wentian. However, an elephant trumpeting sound came from Qin Wentian, and his incarnation was enveloped by the shadow of the divine elephant of hell. No matter how the huge divine elephant of hell attacked him, he remained motionless. He is also proficient in the power of divine elephants? The eyes of the spectators flashed. The two of them were proficient in the same power? Qin Wentian stepped out, landing on the battle platform. With a thunderous boom, the entire space trembled. Tenlanju's heart pounded as well. His immortal foundation actually trembled slightly, as though it was being enveloped by a formless might. Rumble! Qin Wentian continued stepping out. In an instant, Tenlanju felt his immortal foundation trembling unceasingly. His heart pounded violently as his countenance changed. With a loud roar, the hell-like divine elephant of hell congregated around him, exuding a fearsome destructive might. But at this moment, Qin Wentian's silhouette descended. He blasted out with his palms, and the divine elephant of destruction let out a heaven-shaking trumpeting sound, wanting to suppress everything. At the same time, Sky Ju also unleashed his ultimate attack. Both of their attacks collided against each other. The hell-like divine elephant of magma and the divine elephant of annihilation and suppression collided against each other, causing heavy rumbling sounds to echo out in the air. Violent gusts of wind ravaged the platform as the two tyrannical attacks unceasingly clashed against each other. At the same time, Qin Wentian continued advancing forward, as though he was trampling on Sky Ju's heart. Tenlanju only saw Qin Wentian walking towards him, his entire body shrouded in destructive light. A gigantic palm imprint blasted out, but Tenlanju's silhouette flickered as he retreated, only to see numerous great rocks shooting out with lightning speed. These great rocks exuded a baleful aura, and their wings were like sharp swords that could slash apart everything. There was simply no way to evade. Tenlanju roared. His body transformed into a lava giant. The shadow of the divine elephant was faintly discernible as the powerful great rocks slammed into him. However, they had no way to shake his foundation. And at this moment, Qin Wentian stepped out once more, causing his heart to pound violently as his immortal foundation to tremble. His palm shone with boundless light, resembling the palm of a fearsome divinity, slamming down onto Tenlanju's body. With a cracking sound, the congealed flames on Tenlanju's body fell to the ground. Terror was written all over his face, and under his sharp brows, his eyes were filled with terror as he stared at Qin Wentian. Bang! With a thunderous boom, all the energy on Sky Ju's body completely disintegrated. His body was flung through the air as he coughed out fresh blood. In an instant, he looked incomparably haggard. His immortal foundation was already shattered, and he laid limply on the ground, becoming a cripple. The hearts of everyone trembled. Qin Wentian used absolute dominance to suppress Tenlanju. The combat prowess of the two of them weren't on the same level. Tenlanjiang's expression was extremely ugly to behold. Tenlanju's strength was already considered one of the strongest among them, and his cultivation base was even higher compared to Qin Wentian. He initially hoped that Tenlanju would be able to kill Qin Wentian, but he didn't expect that Tenlanju would be crippled while Qin Wentian was completely unharmed. Is this the result you wanted? Qin Wentian slowly turned and stared at Tenlanjiang below the platform. I've said it before. Your subordinate isn't qualified to challenge me. Gotcha. Tenlanjiang clenched his fists tightly. Today, in the confrontation against Qin Wentian, his Tenlan Heaven Kingdom could be said to have lost all face. They couldn't even win a single battle. They were completely defeated. You are very good. Tenlanjiang coldly spoke. However, even if you won, so what? This doesn't mean anything. The victory in the sparring can't stop the flow of events. With the contract in place, the princess of the Evergreen Kingdom will definitely marry into my Tenlan Heaven Kingdom. Qin Wentian stared at Tenlanjiang, only to see him pointing his finger at Tenlan Hai. A trash like him is also qualified? Qing'er is my girlfriend. No one can force her future. Is that so? Tenlanjiang's eyes flashed with killing intent. He didn't conceal it at all. He stared at Qin Wentian and flicked his sleeves. The adjudication of the immortal realms is something that must be carried out. If the Evergreen Kingdom doesn't abide by the rules, it would be equivalent to declaring war against the adjudication powers. I truly want to see if the Evergreen Kingdom would choose to abide by the rules and marry their princess to the immortal realms, or would they choose to destroy the immortal realms? You just wait and see. After speaking, Tenlanjiang turned and stepped out. Today, Qin Wentian had disrupted everything. There was no meaning for him to stay any longer. This junior came here with sincerity, yet the Evergreen Kingdom refused to abide by the agreement. Senior Chongqing the Great is also unwilling to meet with me personally. In that case, I can only rely on the adjudication of the immortal realms. Tenlanjiang spoke in a clear voice. Terrifying sound waves reverberated through the air, spreading to every corner of the immortal realms. The people of the Tenlan Heaven Kingdom all followed Tenlanjiang and departed. Today, they came here to suppress the Evergreen Kingdom, yet they didn't expect that they would be humiliated by Qin Wentian instead. Farewell. The people from the Paragon Sword sect all stood up and bid their farewells. Many people from the Celestial Palace and Taihua Empire turned their gazes to Qin Wentian. as a look of deep meaning appeared on their faces. Today, Qin Wentian was known to all the major powers of the eastern regions. A young man at the second level of Immortal Foundation actually dared to challenge the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. In addition, he even held the hand of the daughter of Chongqing the Great, Princess Qing'er, denying the agreement the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had with them. Farewell. The experts of the various powers respectively stood up and bid farewell. Not too long after, most of the experts had departed. Only those from the Evergreen Kingdom and the Immortal Champion Gate remained. Qin Wentian walked down the platform and returned to the side of Qing'er. He was still holding onto Qing'er's hand as the two of them turned their gazes to the nobility of Chongqing Long Hao. The other party was also looking at them, and the atmosphere was somewhat strange. After all, the matter between Qin Wentian and Qing'er was something that the people of the Evergreen Kingdom felt disdain for. They even tried to make things difficult for Qin Wentian. But the matter today caused their impression of Qin Wentian to change greatly. Hence the atmosphere was somewhat strange. Everyone, please stay in the palace for the time being. Chongqing Long Hao was silent for a moment. Then he turned around and left. His words seemed to have a deeper meaning, but he did not say anything more. The people of nobility took a deep look at Qin Wentian and Qing'er, then left. Princess Chongping walked towards Qin Wentian. She looked at the two people in front of her and said with a smile, "You two came at the right time. I heard about what happened here from Master," Qing'er said crisply. Princess Chongping nodded and looked at Qin Wentian. "What about you? Did you come for Qing'er?" "Yes, I heard about what happened here from the Immortal Champion Gate, so I came here to have a look. I did not expect to meet the people of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, who came here to make trouble," Qin Wentian said. "Not bad. Seems like the two of you have made some progress." Princess Chongping had a smile on her face. What happened today was obviously a good thing for Qin Wentian and Qing'er. It was extremely beneficial for them to be together. "Wentian, you should temporarily stay in my residence. Right now, the hatred of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom towards you has already seeped into their bones. I wonder what methods they would use." Okay. Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't reject the opportunity to be together with Qing'er. The two of them had not seen each other for so many years. It was rare for them to have a reunion. The people of the Immortal Champion Gate followed Princess Chongping to her residence. Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis entertained them. After that, Qin Wentian and Qing'er reunited in the courtyard that he used to stay in. The two of them pulled each other to the lakeside and sat down. Although they had many things to say, they didn't know what to say. Qin Wentian's gaze was fixed on the cold expression of Qing'er. Although Qing'er pretended not to see it, her beautiful eyes would occasionally blink as she asked, "What are you looking at?" "Qing'er, you have become even more beautiful. I really want to kiss you." Qin Wentian smiled. Qing'er didn't look at him. She only stared ahead and didn't say anything. Qin Wentian stared at the quiet beauty as he moved his head forward. He could feel Qing'er tightly holding onto his hand, yet she still didn't reject him. However, his heart was filled with panic. Staring at that cold and beautiful countenance, Qin Wentian gently kissed Qing'er. On her fair cheeks, a soul-stirring blush actually appeared. She was simply so beautiful that it was suffocating. Chapter 11-12. Qin Wentian retracted his head, admiring her beauty. Qing'er's face was flushed red, causing one to feel like kissing her again. A pure and cold goddess, when the red glow of the setting sun shone on her jade-like countenance, her beauty was truly astonishing. Such temptation was irresistible. Qin Wentian shifted his body, leaning against Qing'er. He stretched out his hand and wrapped it around Qing'er's slender waist. That willowy waist was so soft and supple that it seemed as though there were no bones in it. Qin Wentian hugged her. Qing'er's body also moved closer to Qin Wentian's. Her head rested on Qin Wentian's shoulder. Staring at that supreme beauty right before his eyes, Qin Wentian's heart was filled with happiness. He just quietly held Qing'er in his arms, enjoying this rare moment of peace. The night was quiet. Qin Wentian was quietly cultivating. Astral light cascaded down from the sky as immortal light circulated around him. His body seemed to be translucent, and the glow of his immortal foundation could be faintly seen. However, at this moment, the immortal light around Qin Wentian dissipated. His eyes abruptly opened as he felt a mysterious energy boring down on him, causing him to furrow his brows. He could faintly sense that there was a mysterious energy calling out to him. With a flash, Qin Wentian soared up into the air, following that feeling. Not too long later, he exited Princess Chongping's residence and sped through the royal palace of the Immortal Empire. That mysterious feeling continued to exist, and it wasn't too far away. As he sped through the air, he came to a sparkling astral lake. This astral lake seemed to reflect the countless constellations in the sky, incomparably resplendent. Beside the astral lake, a slender figure quietly stood there, as though he had always been here, coexisting with the darkness of the night. The long hair of this person shone with a silvery white light, exuding an ethereal aura. Qin Wentian could sense that the mysterious energy originated from here. Qin Wentian greets you, Senior. Did you guide me to this place? Qin Wentian bowed slightly to that silhouette. That silhouette slowly turned around as his gaze landed on Qin Wentian. When Qin Wentian's eyes met with the other parties, he only felt as though he saw a vast expanse of stars, boundless and deep. At this moment, Qin Wentian felt as though he was in an endless starry sky, as though he was transparent. With a single glance, the other party could see through him. It was as though his entire being was inside the other party's eyes. Those eyes were like the starry world he was in. This instant felt like a very, very long time. When she withdrew her gaze, Qin Wentian finally felt his entire body relax, and he actually felt as if he was in a dream. So strong. Qin Wentian silently mused. The feeling this person gave him was truly unfathomable. He had met many immortal kings before, and even immortal emperors. He had no way to sense the exact cultivation base of this person, but he knew that this person was definitely stronger than the Deep Flame Immortal King or the Nightmare Immortal King. After all, those two had truly unleashed their auras on him before. In the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, the number of people who had such a cultivation base could be counted on one's fingers. Nothing much, I just want to meet you. This voice contained an ethereal aura, as though it wasn't real. Qin Wentian felt somewhat taken aback. Such a powerful character actually just wanted to meet with him? Why was this so? He felt somewhat puzzled. In addition, given the cultivation base of this person, a single sweep of his immortal sense should be able to cover the entire royal palace. Naturally, this person must have seen him before. And what this person said should be referring to him personally. Could this person be Qing Er's father, the master of the Evergreen Kingdom, Chongqing the Great? Senior. Qin Wentian wanted to speak, yet he only saw the other party waving his hands lightly. Cultivate well. Don't forget your heart. You are a person with great luck. Great luck. Qin Wentian mumbled. Go on. The misty eyes of the other party flashed with a smile. Qin Wentian didn't expect that the other party would guide him here just to say a single sentence. This caused him to be speechless, but he could sense that the other party had no ill intentions. For such an expert to want to meet with him, it could be considered an honor. To characters of this level, even if ordinary people stood before them, they wouldn't even bother to glance at them. Junior will take my leave. Qin Wentian spoke. After that, he turned and departed, feeling somewhat bewildered in his heart. After he left, the astral lake abruptly churned and churned unceasingly. Qin Wentian's silhouette was reflected within the astral lake, as a beam of astral light shot up into the air. The misty figure raised his head and followed the beam of light into the void. All the stars in the sky seemed to be evolving in his eyes, like a chessboard. The starry chessboard grew brighter and brighter until the light of a star rose to the peak and then exploded. Cough cough. The figure in white beside the starry lake coughed, and a drop of blood actually came out. However, he acted as if he didn't see it. With a wave of his hand, the starry lake turned into endless starlight and flowed into his body. Father. From afar, a figure stepped forward. This figure was very beautiful. She looked at the person in front of her and asked, Father, are you injured? Naturally, I have to pay a price to peek at the rules of the heavenly path. It's a pity that my cultivation is still too shallow. The misty figure shook his head lightly. He actually thought that his cultivation was still too shallow. He wondered how the people outside would feel if they knew about this. Did you see anything? The beautiful woman asked in a low voice. The path of cultivation is filled with ups and downs, but one's fate is higher than the heavens. I can't see through the fate of an ancient emperor. The misty figure faintly spoke. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back and slowly walked away, leaving behind the beautiful woman who was in a daze. Fate higher than the heavens? The fate of an ancient emperor? Up until now, out of all the people her father had ever seen, this was the only person with such a fate. The news of what happened in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace soon circulated around the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, shocking countless people. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was domineering and tyrannical, heading to the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom to suppress the Evergreen Kingdom. Not only that, the Supreme Sword School also participated in it, suppressing the experts of the Evergreen Kingdom to the point where the nobility of the Evergreen Kingdom was unable to breathe. What was even more shocking was that it was actually a disciple of the immortal Champion Gate, Qin Wentian, who stood out and led the members of the immortal Champion Gate to suppress the experts of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Many years ago, during the once-100-year immortal banquet held by the Dongshangshan Gate, Qin Wentian crushed all the geniuses and obtained the position of the top ranker. However, he rejected the offer to take the Emperor of Qianbian as his master. It was precisely on that day that the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures were divided. What was even more shocking was that the disciple of the immortal Champion Gate, Qin Wentian, stood out and led the members of the immortal Champion Gate to suppress the experts of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Many years ago, during the once-100-year immortal banquet held by the Dongshangshan Gate, Qin Wentian crushed all the geniuses and obtained the position of the top ranker. However, he refused to take the Emperor of Qianbian as his master. It was precisely that day when the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures were divided. According to the rumors, this person's talent was outstanding, and there was no one in the Dongshangshan Gate who could stand against him at the same level. And the grudge between him and the Dongshang Heaven Emperor was because he had been humiliated by the Dongshang Heaven Emperor before. All sorts of rumors about Qin Wentian gradually increased. In addition to his relationship with Princess Qing, he instantly became a famous character in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. However, very quickly, a piece of news suppressed Qin Wentian's limelight. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom invited the major powers of the eastern regions to participate in the adjudication. The Evergreen Kingdom didn't abide by the agreement and broke the promise they made to the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom back then. Hence, the Evergreen Kingdom requested the major powers to adjudicate the matter. For the sake of fairness, the location of the adjudication was decided to be the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. Very quickly, news circulated that Zidi, the Supreme Sword School and even the Celestial Palace would support the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. They would adjudicate that the Evergreen Kingdom would abide by the terms of the agreement and allow the most outstanding princess of the Evergreen Kingdom to marry into the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. This news circulated to the major powers of the eastern regions. The Taihua Empire and the Beast God sect didn't express their stance. The major powers of the eastern regions all headed towards the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. This matter caused an uproar in the royal capital of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, causing a storm of commotion. In the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom invited the major powers to initiate the adjudication. This was simply a slap to the face of the Evergreen Kingdom. In the royal palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, a voice rang out. Right now it was no longer the era of ancient emperors. The experts of the immortal realms were all rising up, and there wasn't a single power that could unify the eastern regions. Who would have the qualifications to judge the matters of other powers? No matter what the outcome of the adjudication was, the Evergreen Kingdom wouldn't care. The attitudes of both parties were very obvious, each insisting on their own words. However, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom didn't care at all. During these days, Qin Wentian had been cultivating in the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, staying together with Qing. He didn't feel the flow of time. With regards to the adjudication being initiated by the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, he was incomparably furious in his heart. However, he was also faintly worried. How would the Evergreen Kingdom be able to handle this storm? Today, in a certain location in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom held a banquet, inviting the major powers of the various powers. The envoys of Zidi, the people from the Supreme Sword School, and the people from the Celestial Palace all arrived. Each of them occupied a seat, but the seat opposite them was empty. That seat was reserved for the Evergreen Kingdom. However, no one from the Evergreen Kingdom came. Seems like the Evergreen Kingdom knows that they will definitely lose this adjudication. Hence they didn't appear. My Tenlon Heaven Kingdom has the support of the various major powers. Even if the Evergreen Kingdom didn't appear, we wouldn't be able to evade the adjudication. According to the contract, my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom will choose a good date to head to the Evergreen Kingdom and welcome Princess Chi and Princess Liuli to the Heavenly Mist Kingdom. Tenlon Jiang turned his gaze to everyone as he spoke. The adjudication this time was decided by the major powers of the eastern regions. If the Evergreen Kingdom still doesn't comply, we would be making an enemy out of all the major powers. His voice rang through the air, spreading throughout the entire royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, all the way to the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. Within the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, the atmosphere was somewhat stifling. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom's momentum was at its peak, joining forces with the other major powers, wanting to oppress them.